You're listening to WFUV, New York.
This is One on One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show on 90.7 FM, WFUV.org, and WFUVSports.org.
Good morning and welcome to One on One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show here on WFUV Sports' YouTube page and later on 90.7 FM alongside Caleb Stein, Chris Carrino. I'm Thomas Aiello. Guys, Saturday morning, it is April 29th as we are having this show, and it is Chris Carrino's debut on One. Not the dad, the son. We have the son here in WFUV. Chris, welcome to your trial by Inferno.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I think this is one of the best times I could have to debut on One. It's really my wheelhouse when it comes to the calendar. You know, when we're talking, everything that's going on in the sports world, and a lot of exciting things. We got the draft, kind of looking toward the future, which there's so much we're even diving into. We're not even going to discuss that. That's how much going on right now. And we got looking to the future in the draft and things like the transfer portal, which I know Thomas is very excited about.
Oh.
And then we also have playoffs going on, which is where the legacies are built. So it's just a little bit of everything in the sports calendar right now, and I'm excited.
Caleb, how you doing today?
Very, very excited. It's a great year. It's a nerve-wracking year to be a Boston sports fan right now with the Bruins and the Celtics, who have very, very decent odds. I'm not going to say too much. I don't want to JINX anything, but it's nerve-wracking, but it's also very exciting.
Why did you spell out jinx? Why did you spell it out?
I think he was trying to negate the effects of it.
I mean, look, honestly, when we do this stuff on the air, it just happens, right? See, I'm a wizard. So
Right.
2 years ago, I was on One, and I said Jameson Taillon is bad, and then all of a sudden, he just went on this tear the second half of 2021. And I texted our boss at the time, Alex Walls. I'm like, "Am I a wizard?" And he goes, "I think you're something." So I feel like either I'm a wizard or I'm a sports NPC.
And I feel like he understands that power, and that's why he's spelling it out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, my next spell I'm going to cast is over the Atlantic 10, but that's a story for a different day.
That's a different day.
Yeah, I came into the studio today, and also I just wanted to mention this because it's raining heavily outside. I looked like I swam to get to the Rose Hill Studios. It was bad. It was really bad, I do have to say. I had to step over a couple of pools in the street. It was not fun crossing Fordham Road today, let me tell you. And I left my Timberlands at home. So it's not going great right now, guys. It's really not. I did not prepare for the weather at all. And my umbrella was stolen a couple weeks ago. So that also does not.
It's all going downhill, I think.
Vibes are kind of down.
You have the Knicks as is a great transition.
I do have the Knicks because they are going into the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Miami Heat for the first time in over 10 years. They broke the cycle. They did it. They broke their 10-year cycle, and we're going to be previewing that. The NBA West, we have to discuss the Lakers, the Grizzlies, all of the drama going on out there. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, we got to talk about him going to the Jets, and we have great interviews today. We have one with Don Juan LaGreca from the Michael K. Show, and we have one with Bud Michigan from 1010 Wins that Chris, you and I did. And it was I do have to say, this show, from a content standpoint, second to none, I think, of all the one-on-ones we've done all year. And Caleb, you can attest, you've been on some one-on-ones, but in terms of the content we have, second to none. I don't think you can debate that.
Content and crew. I'm excited for the show.
Content and crew, yes, I agree. We're also having our pre-show pop culture discussion in the back room, and I don't know who Ice Spice is until I had to look it up. That was bad culture of me. I'm a bad culture person.
He's too dialed in on that A10 transfer portal. The semantics of pop culture just totally flow by.
Yeah.
Important things need to be discussed.
Well, the power forward of Brian.
All right, no.
I'm just
that
saying.
wasn't what I was trying to do.
Close the can of worms. Close the can of worms.
I'm trying.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's more important to me than
I know. That's what I was
Ice
saying.
Spice.
Yeah.
Ice can't be spicy.
It's one of the more endearing things about you.
Ice can't be spicy.
Anyway.
It's a counterproductive name.
Anyway.
I'm just saying.
That's the point, I think. That's the joke.
I'm just saying. Like, it's counterproductive, and the Yankees are counterproductive because they have been horrible to start the year so far, 15-12. They lost last night to the Rangers with injured Jacob deGrom. I mean, we have to analyze this.
Possible Tommy John coming for him as well.
Yes. That is also
big.
That's concerning because they gave him a lot of money in the offseason, and they were expected to really go for it, the Rangers, and here they are now with a half-functioning Jacob deGrom. And the Yankees, I mean, man, it has been – I don't even know what the word is I can use.
Underwhelming.
Well, Caleb,
Frustrating?
Frustrating is the word. Because it's not even underwhelming.
Let's dig a little deeper than that. I think we can do better than frustrating.
Underwhelming.
Underwhelming,
Yeah.
jarring,
And
Yeah.
underwhelming.
jarring, eye gouging.
It's also April.
This is true. Yeah, it's also April.
We also have to keep perspective. That's big
This
in
is
baseball
April.
with the
This
162
is
games.
April. Yes, this is April.
Yeah, this is April.
I would say honestly the game. What was it? 7 of Heat Bucks? No, not Game 7. What was it? Game 6.
Game 5.
Game 5. March-like event.
Oh, indeed.
Yes, very
You
true.
did that,
Four.
right?
The overtime. Yeah.
The last 2 games
The
in that
last 2
series were
games.
very much. My dad actually did text that to me. It's funny you said that.
Yeah.
While that game was going on, and I'm not sure which other game was going on simultaneously with it, my dad was like, "This has a very there's a March ambiance to
Yeah.
the NBA playoffs
I
tonight."
mean, Jimmy Butler just comes around a screen and just chucks up a horrendous 6-foot shot that goes in. You know, something's happening.
I mean, he's a month late. What is he doing?
Yeah, I know. That's what that's what I'm saying. He's a month late. I mean, he has 1 more year of eligibility technically, because he only played 3 years at Marquette, so he technically has 1 more year. But the Game 5, I thought that was the best game of the series. Like, I know Game 4 was really good. Game 5 was ridiculous. I mean, come on. And Milwaukee was
on the
leading.
road too.
Yeah, on the road. Milwaukee they were dominating Miami in some instances in that game, and then they just absolutely lost.
No
it.
8 seed in the East has done that to a 1 seed in a decade since the Sixers did it with Andre Iguodala and Drew Holiday.
Who were the other 8 seeds to upset 1 seeds? I think of the
well,
Sonics and the Nuggets.
The We Believe team, obviously, with the Warriors.
Yes.
So that they beat
Oh.
Dirk after his MVP year.
Knicks Heat
Knicks
in
Heat.
'99.
Yeah.
Allen Houston. Grizzlies Spurs. Yes, Julia, thank you for bringing that up. Our producer today. Also,
I wonder why she remembered that one.
Because she's a big Spurs fan.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
sports manager-elect Julia Moss, going to be the first woman in the history of WFUV to hold down that position. So let's give a round of applause. The tenure starts May 1st, right? If I'm not mistaken, Julia? May 1st. Okay, that is correct. So we are looking forward to that as well. A lot of changes for you guys that are going to be here next year. It's going to be you guys are going to have a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think the future of FUV is in good hands.
Yeah, I think so.
We're chilling.
I think so,
We're
and I
chilling,
think the sports world in general is in good hands. I know that might sound funny, but I genuinely think post-COVID, I feel like just sports and that magic and kind of the mystique that we feel and kind of the deep down reason why we all really love sports, I feel like it's just coming back and just stronger and stronger with every year post-pandemic, and I just feel like it's going to be an exciting time for not only us here at the station, but sports in general.
It all weighs on the
Absolutely.
shoulders of Julia Moss. She's the X factor in all of this.
El Prez.
Yeah, see? She's like, no, stop it. It does, though. She's in charge.
She's humble. She doesn't like the attention.
I know. I like to see. I am obnoxious sometimes. I like to poke fun at my friends.
Sometimes.
Someone who does like attention is a guy who's on her favorite team. This
Yes,
guy, Dylan Brooks.
Oh, hi, Bobby. How you doing? Just walks past the studio.
But Dylan Brooks is a player that starts for Julia Moss's favorite team, the Memphis Grizzlies, and it was absolutely the opposite of Julia Moss. Not much humbleness, not much grace, just honestly just horribleness all the way around from Dylan Brooks, and I feel like really a reason his team was costed a series and how it went down in general.
See, I feel like we have to acknowledge that he has a history of this.
Oh, of course.
You'll remember this, Caleb, because you're from North Carolina. When he was at Oregon, he hit the 3-pointer at the end of the Duke game in the regional final.
Mhm.
And then Mike Krzyzewski's like, you're too good for that. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, my bad, man.
Thomas, I know too because I cried after the game because I was a UNC fan at the time.
Yeah.
But Dylan Brooks was my least favorite player back then, and he's my least favorite player now because he was overrated at Oregon. Was their entire offense when we played them in the Final Four, and proverbially didn't really have much. It was kind of before their big man university kind of image that Oregon tried to present kind of later after that.
That's a mistake.
Which was definitely a mistake, kind of that Lewis King, Bowl era. But nonetheless, I just feel like that team kind of almost showed everything that Dylan Brooks could do well, and I feel like that's why his stock was so high entering the league and why it is what it is now. And I feel like a lot of that press that was generated from those UNC years in 2017 is kind of why this guy is even on LeBron's radar in the first place. And I feel like that needs to be understood in a lot of different places as well.
Yeah, it's hard when press sort of allows for a player to be what he is, and then he doesn't live up to it. And then it's not based on skill; it's based on press.
Yeah.
It's that leave that for culture, like Ice Spice. Don't leave it for the basketball court.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're going to table this introduction. This was a good warm-up. We did our stretching. We're ready to go. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up, we're going to do an NBA Eastern Conference breakdown. Caleb is going to lead that with the headlines. We're going to talk about the Knicks, the Heat, whatnot, all that fun stuff. So stick around here on One-on-One. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Sam Davis here. Check out WFUV Sports on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at WFUV Sports, and Instagram at WFUV_sports. There you can find all of our content from our beat reporters covering all the New York professional sports, as well as clips and full shows from One-on-One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. For everything WFUV Sports, follow us on our socials.
I love how it's raining this music in the background because it's going to be raining the next couple days. It is. You know what I feel like when I hear rain sound effects? I feel like I'm in the music video for the Eminem song "Stan" because the whole music video is there's just rain in the background of the song. That's what I feel like. I feel like a character in that. Welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. Thomas Aiello, Chris Carrino, Caleb Stein. All right, it's time to talk Knicks. And it's time to torture Chris a little bit as a Nets fan because I shouldn't say reluctantly, but he's definitely afraid of the Knicks now because they're good.
After watching Jimmy Butler, I'm not afraid of anything.
Whoa. He's not afraid of anything.
I don't know
No,
what you're talking
okay.
about. These assumptions that are being made on the other side of the table,
Okay.
I'm not condoning them. But
Okay.
after watching, you're a very confident Knicks fan right now. You think
Confident enough.
What does that mean?
I think it's going to go to like 6 or 7.
So you're not confident.
I think there's a level of confidence in saying that
In
it's going to be
6.
Knicks in 6.
But like,
I
there's
have
not-
Knicks in 7 is confidence too.
That's confident because Miami's good.
Would you put any money on it? Would you
Okay, well,
base
I'm
it
not
in anything
I'm
that's
not a betting
unbiased?
man. I'm
Would you
not a
base it
bet-
in anything that's unbiased? Is what I'm saying.
I
Not
mean-
even if it has to do with money, just in general.
I mean, I would.
If you had to cloud you really think like unbiasedly when you look at these two teams that the Knicks that's just your pick.
I feel like
Because I don't think it's a bad take. I just don't
No,
think it's that simple.
because it's hard because you look at the Knicks' depth and it's obviously like much better than Miami's. I mean,
they play 7 guys.
Not that
how
much,
deep is
though.
how
Yeah, but,
deep is
like,
a 7-man rotation?
okay, but Miami's role players are like Kevin Love, who really can't move anymore besides shooting threes, and then it's the Paul legend Max Strus,
good player.
who's good.
Yeah,
Gabe Vincent, I mean,
also a good player.
okay. Then it's Jimmy.
Yeah,
Bam's good.
yeah. You're forgetting
Kyle
one.
Lowry.
You're forgetting a guy who's been extremely important in that Bucks series.
Kyle Lowry exists. No Tyler Hero.
Do you know who I'm thinking of?
Who the heck are you talking
I'm
about?
thinking of 11, 5, and 2 average Caleb Martin, who almost single-handedly with Jimmy Butler won them that game 4 with his clutch threes. He's a guy that's a role player.
Caleb, do you hear this?
I do.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's a good player, and he's 3-and-D. Like, if the New York media is gonna continue to crown Josh Hart in the way they are, I feel like downplaying a guy like him, like Caleb Martin, is idiotic.
I mean, the Knicks have Quentin Grimes. He's like the same player, essentially. Josh Hart.
He's significantly better than Quentin Grimes.
Josh Hart's way better than Caleb Martin.
Not way better, but better.
Oh, no. He's way better.
I don't think so.
Are you kidding me? Did you see him in Game 5? Not Caleb Martin. Josh Hart is the role player's role player.
How do you think Randall not playing well and his health affect into this too? You think you can win this series with him not
Yes,
even
because
playing?
the Knicks have an Atlantic 10 player that are going to be starting in the power forward spot, Obi Toppin.
If you have an Atlantic 10 player, it's pretty much a
And
lock.
Obi played
pretty much a lock.
Obi was very good in the clinching
Yeah,
game.
Obi
was.
actually was really good.
When Julius got hurt, Obi was it like a 5-0 run himself.
Yeah, he went on a little 5-point swing.
Yeah,
Hit a couple threes.
it was big too because they had missed free throws at the line. The Cavs, I think it was Mitchell, and then they went on the other end, and the Cavs just went on like a 5-0 run, almost the complete demoralizer in the middle of that game. Kind of turned the entire momentum and stride of the game completely. And I feel like I feel like it's a really good decision on Tibbs' part. To put him
I'm
at the floor.
gonna throw this out to the two of you. There was one player who didn't play in the Knicks' last playoff appearance in 2021. Who was that player?
Josh Hart.
Well, no, he wasn't on the team. This player was on the team,
Oh, and just didn't play.
and he was hurt.
Oh,
Caleb, do you know who it is?
Mitchell Robinson. No, Mitchell. Yeah,
Yep.
he was hurt that entire year.
But he didn't play against the Hawks in the playoffs.
That's like people do not talk about that, and he's been such an X factor. That's really where you see the discrepancy between 21's team and this team.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: not having Mitchell Robinson that 1 year. I mean, that Knicks team was not good. Let's be honest. All right, they overachieved. They weren't very good. Like Alex Burks was the second best player.
And you wish you didn't get rid of him. He's a good player.
Well, Mitchell Robinson in this series like absolutely annihilated Jarrett Allen. I mean, it was bad. And Jarrett Allen.
Don't bail out Evan Mobley either. He was basically dominating the two of them at the same time.
Yeah, Evan Mobley was also quite terrible. I mean, everyone likes to pin it on Darius Garland because, oh my God, like he was really bad game 3. Like, yeah, he was terrible in game 3, but all the other games he was fine. Like game 2, he was great.
Yeah.
Game 1, he was pretty good. And games 4 and 5, he was fine.
They weren't like losing them games.
No, it wasn't him. It was just the bigs were getting destroyed by Mitchell Robinson, and it was really funny. I mean, five offensive rebounds per game for Mitchell Robinson. Are you kidding me?
And 10 total in the playoffs.
11. He had 11 in game 5.
And I feel like the depth of the Heat is understated by the way that Thomas was talking about it. Because guys like Max Strus, who you kind of brought up just like in
DePaul
passing.
legend, by the way.
And I don't know, like some of these guys, like obviously a guy like Duncan Robinson isn't going to play. Like he's averaging 9 points in that Bucks series, but I just don't see him. I just don't see his value in a Knicks series that's going to be so defensive. But a guy like Oladipo,
Who's
Oladipo,
out, I think.
He's out?
I think so.
I don't see that. You could be right, though.
I think, yeah, because he got if I remember correctly.
He's questionable. Because I know what you're saying. He did get hurt at the end of the series, but I didn't think it would take him out of the entire next series.
Okay, so a source here on the internet says he
was
was supposed to he underwent patellar tendon surgery.
Oh, yeah, so no, he won't be playing for next year either, probably.
His career.
My dad has had a patella tendon surgery. It's not fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not fun. No. That's the same injury Kyrie had in the 2016 finals when he left LeBron all
Oh,
alone.
yeah.
Or 2015.
2015, yeah. Well, yeah, Oladipo not playing. That's kind of huge. We already know Tyler Hero is going to be out, which is also huge. But let's look at the Knicks a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they've broken the 10-year cycle of nonsense. And, I mean, look, Jalen Brunson was amazing. 24 points, 4.8 assists on 44% shooting, 96% from the line. RJ Barrett, who I'm very critical of online, was not good in the first 2 games, 7 and 14. He totaled 21. And then he put up 19, 26, and 21 in games 3 through 5. Which really, I thought, turned this whole thing around because the fact that RJ Barrett was humming well, that makes this Knicks team that much better. And they don't have the star player that we've been begging for them to have, right? They don't have the Donovan Mitchell or the Devin Booker, the Kevin. They don't have that. They have dudes that want to show up and play. I think, Caleb, to me, I would rather have dudes that want to show up and play then here's the star player, and then here's everybody else. Because I feel like that's more of a team.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, even though it is as far as all sports are concerned, it's a small team with 5 guys. You compare it to soccer, you compare it to football, baseball certainly. It is a team game. And I would much rather have even 2 guys, 3 guys who work together than 1 guy, 4 guys are there.
Yeah.
Right. I always think about that SNL skit with like the other Cavs.
Oh, I
You know what I'm
remember
talking about?
with Gambino, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Donald
Childish
Glover, yeah.
Gambino was in there.
Exactly. Yeah, and Keenan Thompson about just making fun how the Cavs weren't really a team outside of LeBron. They didn't do. That's not really true. Of course, it's satire.
No.
Of course, it's exaggeration.
Well, if you did look at that roster, one could say like, "What the hell is this?"
yeah.
That 2018, that was a really bad roster.
That was a horrendous roster. But continue.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think of it was the Fordham Rams plus LeBron, and then
Fair.
yeah, no, I know, and
Really? Why?
that's a compliment to the Fordham Rams.
I mean, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Is
And-
Will Richardson better than George Hill at that point? I mean, you could make an argument.
Not JR. No way.
Dude,
I
Will
said George
Richardson
Hill.
on his day.
Not
come on.
JR, though. Like, even if he's better than George Hill.
Okay,
he's
Darius
not better
Quisenberry or J.R. Smith? Who do you take?
than J.R. Smith. Like,
Really?
this is the dude.
Caleb?
Are you
wanna-
serious?
I'm not making a pick.
Seriously,
We're joking, but still, it's a little sarcastic. But
Jr.
I think Darius Quisenberry
The
seems
NBA
like a big
champion.
culture guy.
Probably take the NBA champion. I don't know. It's interesting you bring up RJ Barrett. And I feel like RJ's a perfect example of just how much Knick fans' brains are just like goldfish, where they just don't remember anything. Because for like,
He's
I would say,
good.
hold on, no, because I would say, including Thomas, for about 7 months,
Well,
all I heard from Knick fans, this guy's trash.
Yeah.
Why did we draft
See,
him?
no, this
He's a
is-
glorified role player.
No.
Let me finish.
okay.
All of this I hear for months. This guy was ranked higher than Zion in high school for an entire year.
Was
the
he
best
actually?
player at Montverde. Had 6 D1 players on his high school team. Went to Duke. Like RJ was built for this. His godfather Steve Nash. He's very much built for this. And I just felt like he was treated completely unfairly. And the point I'm trying to make while saying all this is that I feel like the player-fan relationship in New York is a lot simpler than people think. I think when you just win, that relationship becomes a whole lot simpler. I feel like a lot of people that complain about the fans in New York and, the people that are having turmoil with the people in the city are people that don't win. And when you don't win, that tends to irritate the city. And that level of excellence is not needed anywhere else except New York. Guys can't handle that.
Well,
but RJ,
I would argue Boston.
but
Boston,
sure, but
Los
it's not
Angeles.
as in your face. I don't think
Not as the.
Red Sox don't get booed at Fenway for playing bad.
Well, I was going to compare Nick. Yes, they do.
Oh, they do.
Yes, they do.
No,
really
Chris,
bad,
they
though.
do.
Well, I was going to just I was just going to go apples to apples and say Knicks Celtics. Knicks fans are way more in your face about how bad the Knicks are than the Celtics fans are.
Sure,
Because
sure.
the Knicks have been
Sure.
horrible the last 20 years.
Right,
I-
that's
there-
why.
The
Yeah, that's
parallels between Boston fans and New York fans are understated because they're almost the same, except for accent and what
Wow,
teams
that's
they like.
wow.
Wait, say
Because
that
it's the
one more time?
opposite of what I was just saying. But now that you kind of like talk about it, I feel like it's understated how similar Boston and New York people are due to how large the rivalry is. And
You're
this is-
saying they're more similar than people give credit.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed,
That's what you're
agreed.
saying. That's
Yes.
what I'm agreeing.
Yes.
But what I'm saying, and getting back to the point I was making earlier, is I feel like RJ Barrett is the perfect example and image of how you mend that relationship in New York with the fans. You show that you're putting in the work, show you care about the team, show that this is winning and appeasing the fans is the number one option for you and is the main goal for you. And I feel like when that winning comes, it's nothing but respect from the fans. And I feel like that can't be discredited for just how well this Knick fan base has really just been on this season, just in all the ups and downs.
Well, let me say this about RJ Barrett. Again, I'm very critical of him.
was I wrong though?
So you're not entirely wrong. I think where people get a little confused is he's a good player, right? But I don't think he's your franchise
He's
player.
trying so hard not to talk more crap about him right
No,
now.
Yeah.
Like
no.
he's trying so
Well,
hard.
he's moving the bar. He's like, he's good, but he's not
No,
the greatest of all time.
No,
he's not the star player. He's not the star player.
When was
they
he ever?
need.
You thought? I don't really think RJ's game ever lended to that.
No, but when he was drafted as Knicks fans, we thought he was going to be the Messiah.
and
We
that's a
thought
fault on Knicks fans.
That
not
yeah,
him.
and that we got fooled by
That's
David
that's
Fizdale.
Knicks
That's the
fans'
fault of
problems.
expectations
Yeah.
and not reality.
That's
know
what
what
I'm
else-
saying, and that's not his
Yeah.
fault.
No,
at
it's
all.
not. But you know what else is the trolling of expectations? Nets fans having expectations. So we have to talk about the Nets. We do have to talk about this because, I mean, wow, what a season for the Nets. I mean, it
Go
was one heck of a roller coaster. That's an understatement. I mean, between having Kyrie Irving the trade nonsense, or not the trade stuff, but them declining to pick up his option or give him a contract extension, I should say, in the summer. Then Durant wanted out. Then they come back. Then Steve Nash gets fired in the early parts of the season. Jacques Vaughn gets hired. They play pretty well. And then all of a sudden, Kyrie has the thing with the anti-Semitism stuff and the Nets owner tweeting out about it. And then he has to go on this whole, like, what was it, like a goodwill list of things to do sort of itinerary that he had to do. And then all of a sudden everyone gets traded, and the best player coming back is Mikal Bridges. Not to say he's not good, but
Everyone gets traded randomly?
not randomly.
Why?
But it just sort of got.
Well, no, why?
What do you mean why?
Why did the trades happen?
Because it just
Didn't
wasn't
one of our
working.
guys request one? And then
Yeah, Durant wanted out, and then he
No. That was the summer. Who was the one to request it first? A couple months
Kyrie
ago.
wanted first. Right?
Yeah, so it didn't happen randomly. He was forcing us to trade him, so we had to deal Kevin
Well,
Durant. as
it's
well.
also too.
I'm not gonna say, and we is obviously
Yeah.
the Nets,
Well, let me also say this too.
because he's gonna get me.
I
ready.
know.
I'm ready to
This
He's
is-
explode.
riling you up. I can tell.
I
I'm
know.
ready to explode.
Let me say this though: when you pick up Kyrie Irving, who is a known wacko in the locker room, he is a. I don't think enigma is the right word. It's more like a kind of a black hole, because if you watched Luka's mannerisms when Kyrie was in Dallas, Luka clearly did not like playing.
Oh, so
with
we
him.
were supposed to look at how he played with Luka when we were
Well,
signing him
shouldn't
4
you-
years ago.
Yes, but shouldn't you have known how he was in Boston? Like, no one.
Oh, so if he wanted to go to
just
the Knicks,
saying.
that deal wouldn't have happened. They would.
It would.
It would have been too much of a personality issue. So the Knicks wouldn't have signed him. That's what you're
yes.
saying.
The
So,
Knick-
so if the Knicks were in the exact same position the Nets were in, it wouldn't have been the exact same.
Yes.
They wouldn't have signed those two guys, and they would have handled it better because the Knicks have always
No, they
handled
would
things
not
better.
have handled it better.
Like,
They would have
what
probably
is
handled
this
it
argument
worse.
ever.
I'm
like
just
this
saying-
is what no, because it's my turn now.
You know what we
no,
need?
no, it's my turn now.
You know-
This is like so unbelievable. This Knick fan. It's honestly just
I'm
it's
just
propaganda.
it's
It's propaganda to a whole other extent, because I feel like if you went to any Knick fan in 2019 after KD gets hurt, the finals happens in Toronto. Kawhi's on the float. That's kind of where the dynamic of the league is at that point, right?
you know what we need?
No. Can I finish 2 sentences before you
No, but
finish
we have
me?
something better. We have something better.
Okay.
We have an
My
Nets
dad on the phone.
Yes, we have the Chris Carrino
I need
is on
help.
the phone. Notorious
Yeah, family
Nets
support.
expert, the voice of the Brooklyn Nets on the radio. Chris, how you doing today?
Thomas, I thought this was a perfect opportunity to jump in.
Yes. Yes.
First and foremost, let me just say before we get into anything Kyrie Irving or Nets related, I just want to welcome my son to the one-on-one family. I can't tell you what a proud dad moment this is for me. Having been a host on one-on-one, I think I made my debut right around the same time of year, my freshman year, all the way back in 1989. Believe it or not, we used to do it live up there, and when Keating was the studio was on the third floor. And I can't tell you how it makes me feel to see Christopher not only being on the show, but being so comfortable and it's just sounding great. You guys all sound great today, and I just wanted to say that. And Thomas, congratulations on a great WFUV sports career. I know you're a senior, be moving on to bigger and better things. So congratulations on that. You've been terrific.
I appreciate
and
that.
yeah, really proud to have you guys part of the WFUV fraternity.
Well, Chris, I appreciate the kind words. What a wholesome moment for you.
With
Junior.
that said,
Oh my God! See, Chris came in today. He was amped up and absolutely ready to go. He brought
no,
the
but
heat.
you don't have to take, because
I'm just saying that.
From
No,
what
this is good. This is what we
the
love.
conversation started.
We need to
I
start-
know my
yeah.
dad was smiling. Like,
Yeah.
when you were like the stuff you're saying about the Nets, like my dad knew I was ready to
Yeah.
go. Like, he doesn't trust me. He knows.
Yeah, so-
Dad, how do you feel about
Yeah.
what Andrew? How do you feel
Andrew.
about, because Andrew's behind me? How do you feel about what Thomas was saying? How do you feel about those comments made about the Nets?
Oh boy.
Well, I do know that Thomas pushed a button that I may have warned you beforehand. My son is very passionate about the Nets. He grew up with the Nets, quite literally.
Yep.
Whereas I kind of, I got to admit, when I was young and I was, young at high school before that, I was a Bernard King fan. I rooted for the Knicks, but I've been part of the Nets for 30 years, so it became part of my life. And unfortunately at times, Christopher has had to grow up with that. It's part of his blood right now. But yes, I think we say this all the time, and not just the Knicks, but there are 29. Well, I mean, I'll throw maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But I think that every other team in the league would have taken the same deal and signed Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And I don't think it should make you shy away from making similar type moves in the future, but you do have to be cognizant of what was going on. I've had, that you knew what you were getting, but I think you didn't have as much evidence as you have now. Remember, we're thinking about this and we're talking about this with the evidence that we have over the last 4 years, not what we had at the time when the decision was made.
Right.
This is my calm interpreter. Like President Obama has an anger interpreter.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good reference.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'll ask you this. Given the track record with Kyrie Irving, even before
And
he
specify Chris, please.
Chris,
It's really confusing.
Mr. Chris
There
Carrino,
you go.
right?
There you go.
See, now this the name gave it
There
to
you
me.
go. He's the second, I'm the third.
We
if you want to go that way
didn't,
too.
Thomas, we didn't think about this, unfortunately, the day that we had him.
Yeah.
I'm going to start.
I didn't anticipate he'd be doing one-on-one one day, and we'd have to distinguish between the two of us.
Hey, look, you know what? It's okay that you're both here, though.
Good problem to have.
It's a good problem to
Thank
have.
you.
But given the whole Kyrie Irving history, now in Boston, you make a good point. It's not as much evidence, but there are also a lot of other egos on that team. If any other team, would they have handled, let's say what happened this year happened on any other of the 29 teams, other than the Thunder? Would any of the other teams you thought maybe handled it a little differently, or would have turned out perhaps the same?
I think there's 29 other general managers and owners who are different individuals. They all would have handled it maybe slightly differently in their own way. I think probably, though, you would have gotten similar outcomes throughout the league. I don't know how you can say, well, this owner would have handled it differently. This owner, that's just there. I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure there's egotistical. From an egotistical nature, you could say, well, this general manager would have been better. This owner would have handled it better. And listen, even Sean Marks has admitted the mistakes and said maybe it wasn't ideal. We weren't ready for this. I don't know. I do know this. Sean Marks took over one of the worst situations an NBA general manager has ever taken over. In the aftermath of the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett era, the Nets were bereft of picks. They didn't have a roster of NBA players, and somehow, when people were saying it was probably going to take 7 to 8 years to have a competitive team, somehow Sean Marks got them in the playoffs in 2. Right? So I have complete trust that whatever situation they're in, that Sean Marks is going to be able to get them out of it. And did they try to accelerate the process 4 years ago? Yes, but again, I think they did anything that any other owner or general manager and management team would have done. And there were things that happened that I'm sure, looking back in hindsight, everybody's got to look back on a situation that didn't work out and say, hey, how could we have done this better? And I'm sure they've had those conversations. I know they've had those conversations. But you live and you learn. But I do think that there are things that are beyond your control. When you think about when you have 2 stars like that making all that money, you have to be able to put together a team of role players around them. And those role players are not going to be stars if those guys go down. So Kevin Durant had an injury every year, and it took the team out at the knees every year. No pun intended there. With his knee injury.
And we can mention, how Kyrie Irving was stepped on by Giannis Antetokounmpo, and we had a half-healthy James Harden for the second half of that Bucks series. So really, our big 3 was 1.5.
Yeah, that group was just never available enough. They smoked the Celtics in the first round that year, and then you were in that building, Chris. I mean, when that game 1, it's all that building was fired up, ready to go. That the trio was were just hitting on all cylinders, and then Harden feels his hamstring and has to go out, and and they still win those 2 games easily.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn without Harden. And then, as you mentioned, going to Milwaukee and then the ankle turn. And, yes, it could have been – we could be having a much different conversation if Kyrie Irving doesn't get hurt against Milwaukee.
And it's understated how good this team was playing at the beginning of this season as well. I felt a few games this season it was maybe the most talented net team I had ever seen in my life.
They were 18-2 at one point. With Durant just rolling. And, again – this season, guys, it was like 5 seasons from the Kyrie suspension and what that did to the team. Then you had the team with Durant and no Kyrie that really played really well and hard, and Durant was relishing the chance to kind of lead that group, and they won a lot of games. And then, I felt that maybe one of the best wins they had all year was a game. Chris, you were there in Miami when Durant gets hurt in the third quarter, and you're thinking it's over, but they come back and they win in the fourth quarter. O'Neal with the put back, and then the defensive play on Butler to end the game. And
one of your favorite players the whole year as well, Royce O'Neal.
Oh, I am president of the Royce O'Neal fan club, but yeah, no, it just it. And then it started to go well again when Kyrie got going, and you were waiting for just Durant to come back and thinking, well, they can make a little bit of run. And unfortunately, Kyrie didn't want to stay. He wanted that big contract, and he decided that I don't want to stay if I'm not going to get that contract. He used that point in the season as leverage for him. And then the Nets were forced to rebuild and make those trades. And I really think, just going back to speaking of Sean Marks again, I think they did a remarkable job of pivoting at that moment so quickly to get the assets that they did. Sometimes you have to think broadly and decisively, and the Nets acted very decisively, cut bait, and said, "Hey, we got to move quick here. Let's make sure." And now they're set up. I think they've got the 3rd or 4th most draft picks, first-round draft picks until 2029. And they've got a lot of assets, a lot of good young players. There isn't a player on that roster that some team wouldn't want. So I think that they have you may have had to you had some sunk costs, and it may have been hard to do, but they acted decisively and put themselves in a better situation. And it's hard. It's hard watching these playoff teams play right now, but know that in the end, it was the thing they had to do.
Chris, when we talk about sort of the roster building, obviously a very general question, but what would you say is the bigger risk? To have 5 role players, no stars, or let's say 2 big names, like a Kyrie and a KD? What would be the bigger risk going forward for a team?
Well, let me say this. When I said that they surrounded their team with role players, that's what they had before these trades.
Right.
I don't see Mikal Bridges as a role player.
No.
I don't see Cam Johnson as a role player. These are star players. Now, they may not have made an all-star team yet, but they're on their way to it. What happened was when you make these trades, now you're mid-season. You've got 2 months left in a regular season. You're not building a team. You're just acquiring assets. So the Nets didn't say, well, we need to have this guy, that guy, because this guy fits in our system. This guy is going to fit with this guy. No, it was, what are the best assets that we could acquire for Kyrie Irving? What are the best assets that we could acquire for Kevin Durant? These were players and these were picks.
Building
these
around
were all
guys.
Moves. Yes. The Nets were like, I used this the other day on my podcast, the Nets are like a corporate merger right now, and there's a lot of redundancy. Yeah, there's a lot of redundancy. There's a lot of ways now that you can sell off assets to make your company even stronger, and I think that's what the Nets are going to do going forward.
And I think redundancy can be good because it obviously adds a layer of support for the team as well.
Yeah, I think but when you look at it and you say, well, as much as I love Royce O'Neal, do they need Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith? And those are 2 guys that people anybody would really want. Nets were offered multiple first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith when the trade was made. but they want to try and move forward with the group that they, see how that group can handle everything. I mean, there's a ton of guys, young players, veteran players that teams are going to want. But do you need a Joe Harris and a Seth Curry and a Patty Mills?
Probably not.
Shooters, energy guys. No, so you have multiple guys. Yes, you want depth, but you can't afford to have depth when you need other things, or at least.
Depth and redundancy are two different things, and one's good, and the latter's generally bad.
Yeah, so I think, they did put together a team that just had certain redundancies, but that was to be understood at the time. They were just trying to pick up assets, and now we'll see what they do. I think it's a fascinating offseason for the Nets going forward.
Well, Chris, we appreciate you calling in. A wonderful, proud father moment of your son being on one-on-one. Time is indeed a flat circle. Also, make sure you check out Mr. Carrino's podcast, Voice of the Nets. He had Florida men's basketball coach Keith Ergo on a little while back. A lot of fun to listen to that one.
You have Coach Ergo on, Dad, and Thomas is immediately hooked for life. That is.
We have had there's a Fordham theme that runs throughout that podcast. I've had everybody from Tony Reale, Jack Curry recently. I do think I'll just say this before I go. That WFUV stands for Fordham University's voice, and whether it be me or Tony Reale or Jack Curry or Mike Breen, Bob Papa, Michael Kay, all these guys, Ryan Rucco, Spiro Ditas, we all developed our voice at WFUV, and specifically on a platform like one-on-one. So I always relish my opportunities to do one-on-one. I know how I felt every night that I was going up to Keating Hall to do that show. I know Chris feels that same way, and I'm really, more importantly than being a proud dad, I'm happy for him to be able to get that opportunity and over the next 4 years really find his voice on one-on-one in WFUV. So thank you guys for having me. You guys sound great.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Carrino. Thank you again for calling in. This has been a very, very, very fun Eastern Conference, Knicks, Nets, whatever segment. Hit a lot of points, but we are going to take a very quick break. When we come back, NBA Western Conference playoff dive-in. Producer Julia is going to be joining us for that one. You absolutely do not want to miss this. Stick around here on One-on-One.
Hey everyone, Michael Calamari here, one of the beat reporters for this season's New York Knicks basketball team. Follow us all season on WFUV Sports, on our Twitter for game and player updates, and on our YouTube channel for a post-game recap following every home game. Also, keep an eye out for special reports on WFUVsports.org throughout the year. For all things New York Knicks basketball, follow WFUV Sports all season long.
right, time to talk about the Western Conference playoffs here on One New York's longest running sports call-in show. Thomas Aiello, Chris Carrino Jr., and producer Julia Moss. First of all, sports manager-elect. That's coming up soon when you start your reign here at WFUV. How does that feel?
It's crazy for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, it's an honor, first of all, that Ryan and Mike put the trust with me to lead the station next year, and to be the first woman is another added layer of, honor. I think that's just the biggest word. I'm excited for next year. We've got a lot of great people coming back, and it's going to be a really good year.
Yeah, you guys are going to have fun. And also, I have to say, we did not mention this at the top of the show. I forgot to. Fordham Rams, St. John's, Madison Square Garden, December 16th, Rick Pitino versus Keith Ergo. I mean, come on. And you're going to select the 3 or 4 people that are going to do that game at the Garden. I got to do Dayton versus Fordham semifinal game at Barclays. Can I annoy you to come back and just do that game in the fall or in the winter?
I don't know, man. I don't know if that's my choice.
All right, it was worth the shot, right?
It was definitely worth the shot.
It was worth the shot, but look, kudos to the stuff you guys have coming up. That's going to be awesome. But we have to get into the NBA playoffs because that is the thing. And we have to talk about the Grizzlies and the Lakers. The Lakers close out the chatting Grizzlies last night in Game 6. Dylan Brooks, that's the big headline here, so we'll start with him. The loudmouth that he is, and we talked. Well, let's not lie. We had mentioned it at the top of the show when he was at Oregon, when he hit that 3-pointer at the end of the game. It has really picked up these last couple months in the NBA with his.
You were right, though. That was a really good point you made. He's always kind of had like a little like I don't like you kind of thing.
Yeah, this
like always. Mm-hmm. Like if you're on his team, you love him. If you're off his team, you don't. Like, he's always had it at least a little bit.
You know who he reminds me of in a way? Does anyone remember Luol Deng?
Play-wise, kind of.
Play-wise, you did not want to play against that guy. He Chris Bosh said, I hated playing against Luol Deng.
Yeah.
And then when he went to Miami, they're like, I love these on my team.
He kind of spreads the floor in a similar way, too, ironically, because they both kind of are trying to make threes a part of their game and failing.
Now, Brooks is not as good as Deng, but point stands that he wanted all the smoke, and LeBron James and the Lakers gave it to him, and they closed it out in 6. So, Julia, you are the native of Memphis. You are a resident Grizzlies fan and Titans fan.
Resident Memphis person,
yeah.
Resident of Memphis culture.
Yeah.
See, that's a big thing. We need the culture here. But what is your gauge of the temperature of this Memphis Grizzlies team as we look at, as we're here today on Saturday, looking after the Friday night game when they lost?
Like, where do you start, right? 40 points in an elimination game. You just can't. It's one thing to get blown out. It's another thing to lose by 40 in an elimination game.
Not great.
Not great, to say the least. It's a bad day to be from Memphis, I will say. I was very upset last night. The mood was immediately darkened quite a bit. You look at the stats. Ja Morant, 10 points. Dylan Brooks and Ja Morant had the same amount of points if we're really looking at it like that. And to go to the off-the-court stuff, if you dish it, you've got to be able to take it. And, while I personally didn't say any of these things, it's tough on Twitter to scroll through and see just everyone. It's just tweet after tweet after tweet, just dogging the Grizzlies. And like I said, I didn't say these things, so why am I subjected
I get that.
to all of this?
I feel that.
But Dylan Brooks absolutely deserves the hate he's getting.
Wow.
I feel like that's not a hot take.
No, but
I feel like after it happened, Julia Moss was almost like, why don't we talk? Like, you were not, this is not how you felt. After you guys won, and you're very similar to the Grizzlies in that when it's going well, it's going really well. When it's not going well, it's not.
See, the Grizzlies' leading scorer last night was, who the hell is this guy? Santi Aldama.
Oh, no.
Santi Aldama? That guy balls.
Decent player, actually.
That's a baller.
You're just not
there.
paying, he's a good player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Casual fan.
I think I'm too wrapped up in college
you
basketball.
You got caught on casual alert, actually.
Well, no, but who the heck is that guy?
In a grand sense.
In the grand scheme of things.
If you asked 100 NBA fans who Santi Aldama was, I would say maybe 40 of them would know who he is.
That's a good number.
That is a
35
good, I'd say,
to 40,
yeah,
probably.
30, yeah, that's a good number. I
so
like that one.
You're not in the minority, I would say.
No. I think the other thing, too, with this Memphis team, Julia, to me, my biggest complaint has always been, it's Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson pick and roll, which is always really fun to watch, and then you can kick out to shooters. The problem is they really lack a second playmaker off the dribble. I really think that's been the glaring hole for a while now. Not to say that that Memphis hasn't been good, but when it's very apparent that that's like the one thing they need.
Since he walked across the podium when Ja was drafted, that's been the only problem. It's been the real problem that's taken them from getting to that extra. Because they should be up here.
And
they should be in that.
Triple J just not being healthy all the time.
And I think the thing is that when you look at the upside of this Grizzlies team, it's almost like I feel like this team thought that they could get by without having that second player, like you mentioned.
They were fine in the West.
All right, and you saw in this series in particular that they need that, and they also need another, like, they have the defensive player of the year on their team. You can't, like, Jaren Jackson Jr. is
Fully
incredible.
Agree. He's good.
But you have to have another player who can play really good defense. And you're looking at the starting lineup, and I'm thinking to myself, like, it's like Dylan Brooks. Like
Tony Allen was great, but Zebo helped a lot. You know what I mean?
Oh, my gosh, I know.
That's,
well, that whole, like, we could go on a whole other thing about the grit and grind era of, like, I love that team so much.
Tayshaun Prince.
Yeah, I mean,
Tayshaun Prince.
It's almost a different vibe now, though. Any person under 2 minutes in any of these Grizzlies games I've watched where they lost, none of them want to take a shot except Ja. They're all, like, shaking to take a shot except Ja. He'll take the 30-footer because he doesn't care, which I respect him. Like, that, it's not him being selfish. It's just like what Kobe did when he was airballing 3 times in Utah. Like, the fact that he's taking the shots is more important than if they go in or not. And I just feel like they need someone, like, just like Kyrie might sound crazy, but might be the best fit for him, honestly.
Well, Julia, I'll ask you this. So I'm looking at the Grizzlies roster.
Yep.
So Desmond Bane, good player.
Really good, like
really
was
great
putting up
player.
25 like multiple times.
But
like really picked up the slack several times.
And then let's go through
T-Rex.
these like wing
All right, Grizz.
Sorry.
These wing guys that you're supposed to have. So let's
Every
start.
team has like 6.
I know. So let's look at Memphis's. So let's start with Xavier Tillman. Do we
He's pretty. I mean, he's decent.
Okay.
I mean,
is Zaire Williams what we thought he was supposed to be?
How many Killian Hayes do they have? 5 or 4?
Not.
Zaire Williams has. My stock in Zaire is so low. He's been back and forth between the G League at this point.
You cut Danny Green.
Well, traded.
But
yeah. The Zaire Williams thing. I think I've had beef with him for a while now, just because we traded. I think that was the one where we traded Jonas Valanciunas to get that pick, and Zaire Williams would have easily been in that spot without the trade. So I was like, this is so stupid. And, Zaire Williams is not producing, and this is like a 3rd year in the league and still bouncing between G League and NBA. So, yeah, no, Zaire Williams is not going to be exactly an X factor for this team.
So let's keep going through this roster.
Okay.
Jake, you texted me the night this happened, Jake LaRavia. You're like, is he good? I'm like, well, he really wasn't even the best player on Wake Forest.
He's been all right, actually, though.
But he's been okay.
Yeah,
but
for a rookie.
He's a role player.
Yeah, I mean, role player as a rookie, I'm not complaining.
No.
But especially on a team as good as this.
And then it gets to Vince Williams from VCU, who has not done much. And then
is that the A10?
I think so.
Oh.
Is VCU? No, I'm kidding.
Yet another A10.
Reigning champs.
Yeah. And then Mike Rhodes gets the Penn State job and blocks everybody on Twitter. I am one of those people.
The can is not being opened.
I'm just saying. Worms. I'm just saying. So any point stands. I look at some of these wing people, which is like that's the big defensive position in the NBA. I'm not impressed with anybody.
Yeah, the wing play is underrated bad on the Grizzlies. Like, I feel like Jaren Jackson almost, people try to think that he's kind of that, but he's not.
He can't.
At all.
It's
he's
like
a set up shop kind of guy.
See, it's
he's
like with Rudy Gobert when he was in Utah. He can't defend the paint, and then can you defend the corner 3? Like, no, dude.
Yeah,
he can't
but
do
he
that.
can almost. He's definitely a more versatile defender than Rudy was. But it's like like he can't play. He can't defend 2 people at the same time on 2 separate sides of the court. Like he just can't. Like,
well, here's my question to you guys, because looking into this offseason for the Grizzlies, it's looking like OG Anunoby is gonna. Like, that's our target. That's like Memphis's target. They want OG, or they want
He's very popular right now.
Oh my gosh, I forget the other one.
He's been in trade rumors for years.
Everywhere.
Yeah, but I think the Grizzlies are really gonna like pedal to the metal, like really try and go for OG. And my question to you guys is, do you think that's enough to like pair with John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, OG, and
Does they get rid of Dylan? Like, kinda.
I mean,
isn't that hilarious?
Well, the thing is, Dylan Brooks is
like, when you think about it, they're getting rid of Dylan.
But if I'm not mistaken, I need to look this up, but I think Dylan Brooks is now an unrestricted free agent.
Oh, is he?
I'm looking at Spot Track right now. See, I
wouldn't think of him to leave, though.
We need to know this though, because it is part of our prep. But I will say, look, OG Anunoby, in my opinion, is a better player than Dylan Brooks.
Oh,
he's
like every single day.
Yeah,
like
he's,
every day.
He's also way less of a PR nightmare.
The only reason Dylan Brooks has ever scored double-digit points in a playoff game is because he takes a million shots.
My big thing with Dylan Brooks, like before the past few months, I've always said about Dylan Brooks the past like 2 or 3 years, he thinks he's LeBron James and sometimes he is, but oftentimes,
Crazy
especially
how
more
ironic that was.
It's very timely. Now it's very timely.
Extremely timely.
But I've been saying this for a while. He sometimes he thinks he shoots the ball like he thinks he is the best player on the court.
He does.
But sometimes he is. But when he's not, he's still shooting 30 times.
He was objectively the best player when you guys beat us in Brooklyn this year. I don't know if because you were maybe around the beat at the time. I don't know if you.
Yeah, we shot like
buckets.
30 times though.
Yeah, he gave us like buckets though.
Yeah.
He had like 20. Like
Right.
it's there. I just don't think on a good team he flourishes the best.
So Dylan Brooks is going to be a free agent, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unrestricted or restricted?
Unrestricted. So like that's a whole nother conversation. Do the Grizzlies like
resign him? No. Absolutely not.
I mean, he's a good culture player for the.
Bad culture player.
Okay. The past.
Where's Maddie
month,
Bamonte? We need to get her in here about culture.
The past month aside, the fans do like Dylan Brooks. I think in the past month you've seen it turn a little bit more because, like you said, you love him if he's on your team, you hate him if he's not.
Yeah.
I think
he's hurting the team.
Currently, yes. It's like the opposite
How
of
much
like.
money does he want too? He has the biggest ego. Is he gonna want this insane contract?
That's true. I mean, Tyus Jones took like a hometown.
Love him. Love Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
Considering he went to Duke, like that means a lot to me. Like I really like Tyus.
So I'm looking at Spot Track's free agent forwards, wings on their free agent list.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say Dylan Brooks leaves. Chris Middleton, I don't think you're getting him.
But no one is signing Dylan Brooks after that besides the Grizzlies. So I think he would take a pay cut.
Yeah, I'm saying, well, if let's say you need to find a replacement though, Harrison Barnes.
That's what I like.
Oh,
That's
boy.
a good one. Harrison Barnes.
Harrison
is
Barnes.
balling.
Jeremy Grant. No.
None of these are like.
And then it's
pushing
like
the
Jay
needle for me.
Crowder, Danilo
Jay Crowder
Gallinari,
making a return to Memphis would be fun.
Rudy Gay, time full
Another
circle, time
Memphis
flat
guy.
circle.
Rudy
moment.
Gay
Yeah.
would be cool. That would
That
honestly
would be-
be
Time
that
is a
would be
flat
really
circle
cool.
moment right there.
Definitely
Getting,
not OJ
could you
Mayo.
imagine like Mike Conley, Rudy Gay?
I feel like that OJ Mayo,
Torrey
Rudy
Craig.
Gay era was almost like it was interesting because it was in between these two eras of such like
Right.
grit, and it was like so athletic and like
Yeah.
just not
Kevin Knox.
that
Yeah.
like at all.
Udonis Haslam's a free agent.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Let me empty the bag there.
Knox is interesting. I would so pick him up just because I'm curious. Just because I'm curious.
I am as a Knicks fan.
And as a Nick hater, love him.
I think like just to put a bow on this, I think the Grizzlies are in need of just their one extra piece. They just need, honestly, a superstar would do it. A superstar would get them not Super Bowl, oh my God, NBA championship favorites. I mean, we had a shot at Kevin Durant last offseason. There's not exactly, I mean, I don't know. We have tradable assets. That's the other thing. We have so many first-round picks. Like, we have not given away our first-round picks in quite some time. So
that's good, though.
But the other side of that coin is that the Grizzlies have been really good at drafting these past few years.
Yes.
So it's like it's almost like, do you want to risk giving those up for a player?
Almost not. But also, you might be really good. So like that
Right.
might be like there might not be a pick outside of 22 for the next 5 years.
I'm
That's very
looking
true.
at the mock draft. Memphis is in the 25-ish range,
Which is where they'll live now.
Yeah. So this mock draft on NBADraft.net has you taking Trey Alexander from Creighton, who's an off-the-dribble guy. He's good, but he's not a needle mover. Jalen Wilson is in that range. Like Jet Howard, do you want Jet Howard?
But the other thing is, like, the Grizzlies have never drafted the way people have expected them
No,
to. But it's worked out for the most part. I mean, say Zaire Williams, like, to be determined. Jake Laravia, honestly, already doing better than I thought he was going to. And these are players that they traded. That's the other thing about the Grizzlies. They trade up to get picks so much. If you look at the past, I think, 4 years, they've traded up for every first-round pick besides, I think, one. Like,
That's
they are.
insane.
Ja Morant was the only one they didn't move.
Exactly, yeah, because they had the second pick. They traded up
And I
to
think
get.
Jaren Jackson, they stayed put.
Yeah, but that was before.
They
That
were
was
the fourth pick, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm like the Zach Kleiman era.
Steal.
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson at 4. Steal.
It was a risk because he said he was like, I don't want Memphis to draft me, and then still draft him, and now he loves it. Now he loves Memphis.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Memphis. Another side note: Memphis is
So
So underrated.
What's barbecue like down there?
I mean, incredible.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't get a rap like that for no reason.
Okay, so if I were to go down there and I went to a barbecue or like some kind of cookout, what's the one thing you would want me to request to eat? That's good.
Like a pulled pork sandwich, probably. With barbecue sauce is also really good. They do barbecue sauce really well.
Caleb,
Rendezvous. If you're from Memphis for some reason and you're watching this, Rendezvous, so good.
Is that
Rendezvous is great. You know what also is great? 38-year-old LeBron James playing
Oh my
37 minutes a
God.
game, averaging
Michael
yeah,
Jordan's
no,
better
hold on.
than
37 minutes a
incredible.
game. At 38 years old, 37 minutes a game, 22 points a game, 11 rebounds, 5 assists.
Yeah, Michael
That's
Jordan's
not
the
a
GOAT.
human. That's not a human. No, we're not. Complimenting LeBron does not negate bringing up Michael Jordan ever. Like
Yes,
if
it
I
does.
comment LeBron, don't because they like I don't even know who you just said. I don't really even know who that guy is. Anyway, and yeah, I'm a North Carolina fan, so that's really saying something. Okay,
Chris.
this 38-year-old man, while Michael Jordan was playing golf after losing to the Wizards for the 5th time in the week, this guy is in the playoffs, probably gonna go win his 5th ring with 22 points, 11
okay.
rebounds, 5
Ring?
assists. a game.
Okay, all right.
You do legitimately think the Lakers
All
have
right.
a shot at winning the
The Lakers
NBA
are
championship?
my West pick to get out.
To get out. Okay, get out.
I don't.
There's
see,
discussion.
they're a better team than them in the West. I don't think so.
Golden State when they are on.
The
Well,
team
Golden
that's
State
playing
might not
Game
even get out of the
7
first
round.
tomorrow on the road.
Speaking of which, let's get to the Kings Warriors series
Yeah,
because
great. Yeah,
this is just bananas. This series.
very much so.
So the Kings won last night, 118-99, behind 28 points from Malik Monk, 26 from De'Aaron Fox. So the Kentucky Wildcat backcourt is back, boys. All we need now is John Calipari on the sidelines.
How did that team get bounced out of the March Madness tournament again? I don't remember.
Kentucky?
Yeah, how
That-
did the team that they were on? How did they lose?
Oh, they lost to oh Jesus. I should have seen that coming.
Yeah. go
So
on.
anyway, but they also got a huge helping hand from Keegan Murray, who's honestly, I think, the best floor raising rookie.
Love Keegan
He's
Murray.
really good.
They
And
love him too. Sacramento loves Keegan Murray.
perfect for them. I love how the combo of him and Sabonis, even though Sabonis fouled out yesterday. I love that front court pairing of the big guys that can shoot and move. And their defense is probably not the best, but that doesn't matter when you can put up 118
Yeah.
and you're able to hold Golden State to 99. That's good enough.
118 on a good Warrior defensive night. Like they
Yeah.
were not slacking. It was
No,
a good defensive
Golden State
night.
was good on defense. Sacramento only shot 38% from the 3-point line is pretty good, but 40% from the field as a team.
Mhm.
Golden State was on defensively, and they accumulated 6 blocks. They were pretty good.
Really good.
But this Kings group, Julia, I'll start with you. They have absolutely come out of left field with the hockey stick. The long-term outlook, we can talk about that another day, but them taking the champs to Game 7, what does that tell you about them and this team?
I mean, I think it's just incredible, like the progress we've seen from last season to this season, and like you said, like the defense isn't amazing, and you look at a team like Golden State, and you think this is like the worst matchup you could possibly have, the best offensive team, like so hard to stop, and then you look at the Kings roster, and for a casual fan, the only name that really jumps out besides De'Aaron Fox is Domantas Sabonis,
Yep.
and he only had 7 points, like you said, he fouled out. So the fact that they're able to not only keep up with the Warriors, but have the ability to have other players step up,
Yep.
like Malik Monk. Even Trey Lyles had 12 points. Like,
Yep.
this is a great sign, and they're coming back to Sacramento. That's the crazy thing
The
about
beam.
The crazy thing about this playoffs is that, you have so many like crazy like 2-7 like where it's like the 7 is almost better like unfortunately in the Grizzlies series, and then the 1-8 the Heat upsetting, but in this scenario
even the Hawks.
exactly, and
Yeah.
but then you look in this series and it's like okay it's 3-3, but like you look at the Kings and you look at the Warriors and it's going to be Game 7 in Sacramento.
That's going to be fun.
And all
That-
three of us know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I want to
well-
go in with a blind eye.
Well, I didn't even say anything, so what are you assuming?
Yeah,
I-
wait,
I
yeah,
just-
I want to know
I
what you're
just wanna-
assuming.
I
We
wanna-
all know Steph's going in there and coming
I
out
want to
with the
go
win,
in.
right?
I
Like,
want to
that's-
watch the game.
I don't
Not
know.
know anything before.
I don't-
I
I think
want to
it's-
experience the surprise, the excitement.
I think the Warrior Game 7 win is a formality. Like I don't even know why.
Really?
I disagree. I
Yeah.
disagree.
All right, really quick before we wrap.
Also,
this.
one more thing:
Yeah,
the fact
before we wrap
that
this up.
De'Aaron Fox is like known and almost undebatably the second best point guard in the NBA right now
Wow,
is one of the
yeah.
most important stories in the NBA, and like it's the reason he's going to be on the All NBA first team along with Shea, hopefully. And I really like he's been so great, and I want to give him the flowers he deserves because dude's straight up the second best player,
You
second
should-
best point guard in
You
the
should
NBA.
ship him some chocolates to his house.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
All right, really quickly before we wrap this segment up, I want to get final score predictions for Game 7. Julia, you go first.
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be high scoring.
Okay.
This is like a no defense, just vibes kind of game I'm seeing here. I'm going to go with
It's a Mac Miller type game.
right. Yeah, I'm going to go with 115-112 Sacramento. And I second prediction, possible overtime.
119-114 Warriors.
All right, I'm going to go 127-120
Jesus.
Golden State in overtime.
I thought
in
my score was
Sacramento.
too high,
That
then you guys
is-
are both
I
just-
think, look, everyone's going to come out firing, but we have to also take a break because coming up next, Aaron Rodgers. This is my personal hell. He's gone. The bad man, well, not the bad man, but the Messiah is gone from Green Bay. He's now with the Jets. Caleb Stein's going to open us up with that. We'll be right back here on One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show.
Hi, this is Mike Breen, WFUV class of 1983. WFUV is the flagship station of Fordham Athletics with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to Saturday one-on-one. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
Welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. Big news going to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers leaving the Green Bay Packers. Huge, huge news. We have a Packers fan in the building.
This is my personal hell. Just
found
letting
one.
you all know.
We have thoughts, feelings, opinions in the building. Let's let them out,
We have
fellas.
kidnapped a cheesehead, and now we have brought him here to state his opinions on the travesty that has
No,
occurred in
see,
Wisconsin.
I wasn't kidnapped. I was assigned this week to do one-on-one.
Oh.
So kidnapping is a overstatement. But
Oh.
regardless, yes, this is. It feels
like a kidnapping.
In a way, I feel like, to quote Stephen A. Smith, I've been captured and tortured in a basement and then left on the street to do nothing. No one remembers that one when he was complaining about the Knicks? No, I probably botched it. Anyway, yep. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is gone. It is kind of a sad day because he was the longest tenured Green Bay Packer ever. He is, in my opinion, our best player ever at quarterback. It's not close. He has 4 MVPs. He had what?
Not close. Him and Favre aren't close.
I think
that is crazy.
Aaron Rodgers is 4 MVPs.
Roger Staubach isn't close.
Chris, what the hell?
Yeah, the wire just pulled out.
Are you serious?
Tighten it, and I loosened it. Anyway,
Broke the mic.
but no, you're talking about like the most storied organization in the history of the sport. Aaron Rodgers has won Super Bowl. Like you're just incorrect.
Okay, but sir, the numbers for
they have
Rodgers,
quarterbacks with like 5 Super Bowls.
I understand that, but I'm saying in terms of skill and individual accomplishments, Rodgers. I'm a huge Rodgers fan.
And that's how people would talk about Favre. Talk about that a little bit? I feel like both of those guys are almost not talked about for their success and almost their ability. Why do you think that is?
Well, I feel like Aaron Rodgers, just for most of his career, who the heck was he throwing to sometimes? I mean, it was old Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, who was fine for 1 year, Greg Jennings, who was fine for 1 year. Oh, God. Then it's like Robert Tonyan, Richard Rodgers, young Devontae Adams. I mean, okay, sure. fine, you can have that one.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good, but then it's like Mercedes Lewis, Jimmy Graham. Oh, you fixed the mic. Good
Of course
job.
I fixed the mic.
I mean, they got the one Super Bowl out of him. Now, I understand you can make the argument he was choking in the playoffs and all this other whatnot. I think, as much as I hate to see him go, it was time for him to go.
I agree.
I think it was time, and he's going to the he's going to the Jets. That just makes me laugh. I'm sorry.
It would make me laugh, too.
I like the fact
pretty
he
funny.
wanted to go to the Jets. Makes you cringe a little bit, honestly. But the return package, Caleb, like really wasn't terrible. It was better than what I thought it was going to be initially.
Well, you're saying what the Packers got.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was not the worst return they could have
No.
gotten.
No.
Especially with not being the party in power. Rodgers, it was a
Yeah.
unique situation because neither team had the power the player did, and that's like so rare. But yeah, I think when we're talking about the Packers, Thomas, I almost feel like you're being quite cynical. I feel like the new era that's starting, I feel like has just the amount of potential to be just as exciting as the Rodgers era.
Yeah, so I think that's a good place. We
Yeah,
can
talk
stay.
about your new quarterback a little bit.
Oh God. So we don't know much about
He's a
Jordan Love.
stud, from my opinion.
I think he can be good. He just hasn't played enough. That's his
of
problem.
course. Yeah.
And he's going to be throwing to Christian Watson, who's fine. I mean, he had an okay season. Now, look, Rodgers, everyone gives him a lot of nonsense. He wasn't horrible last year. He wasn't terrible. He had 26 tutties, 12 picks. I mean, okay, the 12 picks is not great. But a completion
Still
percentage,
doubling his ratio. Like,
yeah,
that's still
a
good.
completion percentage if you round up 65 and interception percentage of 2.2. I mean, that's not awful. And 4 game-winning drives, 3 fourth-quarter comebacks.
He's still Aaron Rodgers.
He's still good. I think for the Jets' perspective, do you get more than 1 year out of him? That's the question we need to be asking ourselves because he's 40. He's going to be 40 this year.
I think you get 2.
You think 2? Caleb, how many do you think?
2.
Do you think 2?
2.
Yeah, I don't
Because
think
he's sitting on like $53 million if he goes for another year.
Yeah. Well,
With-
I mean,
with the contract restructuring.
yes.
He wants that Super Bowl too.
He
wants to
does.
stick it to the Packers so hard.
Well, their division too is tough because Buffalo's really good.
Miami's really good.
Miami's good.
They're really good.
When
They're a playoff
Tua
team.
is on.
They're objectively a playoff team.
Yeah, and then you've got the Patriots. I mean,
We can never trust them to be bad. They'll probably be good next year.
Caleb, you're
Yeah, of
Patriots
course.
fan.
12-win team, Patriots.
You
Really?
think so?
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Hold on.
Who's your quarterback again?
Michael McCorkle.
No, that's not real.
His name is McCorkle.
That's the starting quarterback for the Patriots.
No, I
I
think
thought Zappy was the starting
No,
quarterback.
his name, Mac Jones' real name is Michael
Oh.
McCorkle Jones.
Well, I don't even think he's gonna start for them next year, but yeah.
I think it'll. Yeah, if it's Zappy, I'm happy.
Ooh,
Oh, I like
Yeah,
that.
I
That's
know.
a good one.
Zingers, right?
That
Can we,
didn't feel. Did you do
Julia?
that on
Can
purpose?
we,
Or was
Julia?
that by
Can we clip
accident?
that?
That's
Okay.
Was that
That's
on,
not-
on purpose?
Well, it was on purpose. It's also not a Caleb Stein original though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's somewhere in the Boston Twitterverse. I can't.
So Zappy, you're
Can't find it
happy.
as my own.
McCorkle, then what?
You're definitely not gonna snorkel.
There you go, Chris. That's
Can we
it.
clip that
Off
too?
the cuff.
Oh my God, that was thumbs down from Julia. Did not like that one. But look, for my team, Christian Watson was 611 yards, 7 touchdowns. He led the team in receiving touchdowns. That's wild to think about, actually. Jordan Love's also going to have A.J. Dillon. He's going to have Aaron Jones, 2 guys who could rush for 1,000 yards each if timeshare allows. I feel like if Dillon gets north of 195 in terms of his touches, he can easily be a 900-yard, 8-touchdown guy. The big issue for me, and this is, again, someone who's been very spoiled for this for years, is what's our O-line going to look like, and is the defense going to hold up in the linebacking corps? Because Quay Walker is fine when he's not attacking trainers. When he's cool,
Which
he's
is one of
good.
the dumbest ejections
Yeah,
in the history of
I
that's
thought
awful.
when that happened, I'm like,
He is such
the
an idiot
season's
for
over,
that.
man.
That was
The season's over. This is another one. Former Florida men's basketball assistant Dave Paulson, he's a Green Bay fan, and every time I would see him, we would talk about how we stink, and he's like, "Why are we not tanking? Why are we not?" I'm like, look, we have Rodgers still at under center. You can't tank with him under center.
yeah.
I feel like with Jordan Love, it's going to be a wait and see with him.
You have permission to be bad now, basically.
Yeah, essentially. I don't want them to be bad. I think if
They're
they
allowed
go-
to be without
yeah.
wasting one of the greatest quarterbacks ever's career. Like,
Well,
there's
I
no
don't know
that pressure isn't there anymore.
Well,
of,
I don't know
like,
if wasting is
not wasting, but
the right
wasting
word.
because I think
like the word wasting.
Yeah, I think wasting is the good word to use there. I feel like the pressure of not succeeding the last couple of years for the Packers has been so just abundant because really Rodgers only has a couple good years left. The pressure to have success in those years, I think, is too much to take, and I feel like that pressure being left off and not being there next year is going to really be like something that helps out this team way more than people realize.
Well, let me ask you this. I know everyone can complain about Rodgers in the playoffs. I mean, he's been fine before. And then there's games where he's obviously not good. But how much do you pin it on just the front office? In 2018, it was the 6-9-1 season. They fire Mike McCarthy.
I love this question because I have a take that I've had for a long time about this.
I mean, are you kidding me with some of these receivers that he had? Like old Randall Cobb was terrible.
Thomas, there was a guy on the Dan Le Batard show early this year that had one of the greatest Aaron Rodgers takes I had ever heard.
Okay, I want to hear it.
The take was that Aaron doesn't go out, he likes that his receivers aren't good. He doesn't try to go out and get stars. He's not going out mingling with these guys, talking to these guys, recruiting guys. He doesn't do that because he knows deep down in here, when it gets dark and deep into where Aaron, who he truly is, he knows if he had everything he possibly could to win a Super Bowl and he didn't do it, he couldn't live with himself. So now he just purposely has his team not in Super Bowl condition around him, so that pressure's never there. If they don't win, it's the team's fault. If they do win, he carried them. And it's a win-win for him.
But that's such a selfish perspective, though.
Have you ever heard the guy speak?
Oh, of course I have.
That's what I mean.
Mr. Darkness Retreat.
Mr. Ayahuasca, I love darkness retreats.
Of course, yeah. And it's just that's one of the reasons why I'm
the selfishness makes sense to me. That's why it almost makes sense because of how selfish a guy he is.
Right.
That's
the take absolutely makes sense. But as a fan, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, me either. That's yes.
I also don't care that he goes to Brazil. And that whole
he's not your quarterback anymore, so you don't have to care about anything.
Well, now it's Jordan Love time, guys. That's really the theme here. But
yeah, and Jordan Love
he can be
cannon.
Good. Yes,
that kid has a cannon.
My other problem with Green Bay is I hate the fact that they spend all the first round picks on defensive players. Not that I don't like Jair Alexander or Darnell Savage.
Give me a receiver, please.
Not even that, dude. Pick a lineman.
Or that.
They need a lineman. Like Bakhtiari's getting up there. Elgin Jenkins
he's still a young guy. He's not getting up
there.
Yeah,
but he's coming off a major knee injury.
Isn't he in his 20s?
David Bakhtiari?
Yeah.
No, he's definitely
He's that old? I thought he was younger.
Mm-mm.
God, I didn't realize how long
he's
has he
31.
been around? Yeah, 31.
He's 31.
He's still got a few years left. Offensive linemen usually go for a while.
They last, but it's just like he's coming off a torn ACL. He was okay. He wasn't good.
You spent all the money on him.
But as you
should,
the best left tackle in football.
Of course.
That's not Trent Williams. I mean, you can't not spend money on him. And I go through the rest of this team. Oh, hold on, where the heck did it go? This is crazy. I can't find it. David Bakhtiari, not David Bakhtiari. Elgin Jenkins also coming off of a major-ish injury. There's a lot of questions with this group. The right side of the line is quite horrendous. Their center Josh Myers is supposed to be good, but he's always hurt. And the receiving core has been a question for years outside of Devontae Adams, right? So there's a lot of questions with them. But with the Jets, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better offseason. You really couldn't have.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was definitely a good trade. I think generally I would say the Packers won the trade.
Okay.
In the long run,
I think long run, yes. Right now, no.
All things considered, Packers won the trade. Jets, you get Rodgers maximum 5 years. It's not going to be 5.
It's
not going to be 5.
I'm saying absolute max 100% between 0 and 5 years.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So what's the realistic number in between? You think 2 still?
2.
He pulls a Favre? Wouldn't that be crazy? He just never played a game in a
And then
Jet
then he
jersey.
moves to Mississippi?
Yeah. No, and then he plays with the Vikings, and then
that would now that would I don't know if I can joke.
That would be.
I don't know if this would be a joke. People would throw stuff at him. I'm not even kidding.
And
you.
Bears fans would be the happiest people.
Well, Bears fans, they're the lovable losers. Nobody cares about the Bears. They've been terrible for years.
You have one more championship than they do in the last 20 years. So
we have not been a running joke of ineptitude in the NFL. Okay, let's get that out of the way first of all. Green Bay they've been a competent organization.
I'd rather be the Bears right now.
Yeah, you get DJ Moore.
You haven't been able to say that maybe since 2006.
Yeah.
Literally,
yeah.
which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, right now, no arguments here with that. Honestly, the Bears are just the Bears, little brother. That's what I think of them.
The Bears.
The Bears, Big Cat's team. Oh no, yeah, Big Cat's team. Yep.
Cat's
Shout
team.
out to
Dan's
Big Cat.
team.
Dan's team. Good guy, Dan.
I love how you call him Dan and not Big Cat.
I did, yeah.
That's so funny to me.
You guys go way back. Is that why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were boys.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah, back in Wisconsin.
Back in Wisconsin. Oh God, I forgot he's Wisconsin fan for college sports.
You forgot that?
I did.
He went there.
I know.
He doesn't let you forget it.
No, I know. Believe me, I know. When they had John Fanta on PMT, he made sure he knew he was a Wisconsin fan. That was really funny to me. But going back to the Jets, also have to look at it too, Caleb. Garrett Wilson, you've got who else do they have a receiver? They've got all these people. Corey Davis could be good. And they've got a decent O-line. Now, their draft pick, that was something. I thought they were going to go O-line. They went linebacker for a guy that was a projected, I think, third-round pick. It's just funny to see the Jets already making Aaron Rodgers somewhat mad, and I think that is the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, they're taking the take on radio to a whole new
They
level.
were taking it to the extreme. And they tried to get they were trying to get running. I probably think a running back for him. I forget who it was, but the Lions just lioned, and they took a running back 12th, and now they're going to trade DeAndre Swift. So that should be fascinating. And it wouldn't shock me if the Jets got in on the DeAndre Swift sweepstakes, but that's going to about wrap it up for the Aaron Rodgers talk. I'm already depressed enough with him leaving. I don't need to talk about him anymore. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up, interview with 10-10 Wins anchor, Chris, that you and I did with Bud Mishkin. This guy was awesome. Big Rangers guy, big old school Knicks guy. Talked a little bit about his career and all that fun stuff. The whole interview will be up on YouTube, but we're going to play a little bit of it for you here on One-on-One, New York's longest running sports call-in show.
Hi, this is Michael Kay, WFUV class of 1982. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One-on-One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
Welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. Thomas Aiello and Chris Carrino. We are here with Bud Mishkin, who is a 10-10 Wins anchor, former correspondent and anchor at CBS News Radio Network. He's also the creator of the documentary, The New York Knicks, those championship seasons, which aired on WNBC Radio in 1987. And he's the host of Before the Cheering podcast. Bud, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. You are an incredibly accomplished news and sports figure. I just want to say how much of an honor it is to have you on the One-on-One today.
Well, it's my pleasure, guys. One-on-One, first of all, I guess I stole your name because when I did a profile series on New York One for 14 years, we called it One-on-One with Bud Mishkin. And I was kind of new, like, I think I'm stealing Fordham's thunder here. But look, you guys are part of a great history at WFUV and at Fordham, and all the people who've come out of it and had wonderful careers. I actually was on One-on-One once before. In the mid-'90s, we had an intern in the sports department at New York One, and he was from Fordham. I should remember his name. That's shame on me. But so he asked me to come on the show, and I drove up, and I came up to Fordham, and I was in studio, and I'm a musician, and so I asked him at the beginning, is there any way I could be both guest on the show and the folk musician of the day. Like that would be like a first time, I think. And he would look at me like, I don't think we can do that. But anyway, how about those Knicks?
I love it. I mean, look.
Anyways, so congratulations with being part of a great New York and Fordham tradition.
Well, I appreciate that, Bud. Well, the first thing I want to ask you is, at what age did you really feel that you could do not only just general news or music, but also sports media? When did you sort of realize I could do this for a living? Now, you spent time at Penn, obviously, and I'm sure that maybe had something to do with that, but what was that one moment where you sort of flipped the switch and said, I can do this?
Well, I always loved the media, and I loved reading about it. I grew up with a lot of media. It was, when we were growing up, this may seem like ancient history, but Knick and Ranger home games were not on TV. They were on something called Manhattan Cable in the late 60s, which about 12 people had. And we certainly didn't have it in upstate New York. I grew up about an hour and a half north of the city. So we watched the games on the radio. And that love of the radio grew there, from listening to Marv Albert do the Knicks and Rangers on the radio. And the Knicks were getting really good just in the couple of years before their first championship in 69-70. The Rangers were a good team with Rod Gilbert and Jean Rattel, and I've dutifully brought my Gilbert jersey here.
Of course, the captain himself.
Well, he wasn't a captain, but he was my favorite athlete of all time.
His spirit captained that Ranger miracle run last year. They went on to the Eastern Conference Finals. That 7 was on their shoulder pad the entire year.
That's right, because he died.
I may be wrong. He was a captain, but
no, that's okay. That's okay. And also just throwing in the Willis Reed basketball camp in 1971, the week that I discovered that perhaps I was not going to the NBA. I was 12 years old. Yeah. But in terms of work, it wasn't, you talk to some people and they knew when they were 8 years old, they're going to do this. I loved sports. I loved reading about it. I loved watching it. I loved playing it, and especially basketball and hockey, and just my one night a year, one Knick game a year, one Ranger game a year, and just the idea of going to the Garden and it's cold out, you get a hot pretzel and going in and seeing the ice in the court. It was magical. It's still magical. And so as I went to college, I was at Penn. I enjoyed it. I went away for a semester, my junior year, to Moscow, back in the days when basically few students went to Moscow and studied there for 4 months, and had the notion of, wow, being a foreign correspondent, that would be really interesting. And so when I got out of school, I started looking at media jobs and trying, and I was failing intensely. But eventually I got a job in a small station in northern New Jersey doing news, and started doing it and liked it, and moved up to a bigger station, and then a bigger station, and then eventually New York. And but I was doing news, and then I got a job at WNBC Radio, where I met the great and Fordham alum Mike Breen, and WFUV alum, for a show called Sports Night with Dave Sims. And I covered the Yankees for them on a freelance basis. And I was also working at a TV station as a freelance news writer during the day. And they eventually put me on Channel 9 back when WWR had a news organization. And they put me on, gave me a chance to do some stories, and I liked it. And because I was news writing and writing stories for other people. And I thought, geez, if I'm going to write the story and create the idea, I want to front it as well. And then it really started to dawn on me, I think I have some talent at this. I think I'm a good writer who needs to become a better writer, and I need to get on the air more and more, to get the reps, to use the sports phrase, to figure out if I'm good and to get better. And so I went up for a job in Albany for a couple of years, which was great place to get on the air and do it every day, doing sports, and then came back when New York One was created in 1992. And sometimes in life, you're not sure if the job is right. Everybody else seems to think the job is right for you, but you're not sure yourself. Did I make the right move? I kind of left the safe job and went for this new thing. And that was 1992. And within a year, I was covering the 1993 NBA playoffs. The Rangers weren't in the playoffs that year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but the Knicks were very good and went to the conference finals against the Bulls. and it was in the old Chicago Stadium. And it was before they figured out that they could put the media anywhere in the building. We would still come cover the game. They actually in Chicago Stadium had me sitting for games 3, 4, and 6, 2 rows behind Pat Riley. And so, like, the place is going nuts. It's Michael Jordan, and the Bulls had already won 1 championship at that point. And it's the Knicks and the Bulls, and I'm sitting 2 rows behind Pat Riley. Now, I'm not saying this because that makes me great, not at all. But let's just say that I had that kind of seminal moment of, I think I picked the right job.
Yeah.
Because of the drama of it. And so if there's a moment like where I think I was always pretty confident, but if there's a moment where I was like, yeah, this feels right, because there are going to be tons of moments that challenge you in the media world. And if we're lucky, we get some of those moments that are small victories where we look at it and say, yeah, I worked hard. I worked for this. I got a lot of luck and a lot of people giving me great advice. And this is a good place to be.
I feel like that's really interesting, and I feel like it kind of goes into the saying, a writer's only as good as his perspective. And I feel like you've lived such an interesting life, the Soviet Union in high school, and I wanted to ask you about kind of sports worlds in time of peril and kind of how that may change everything and kind of take the joy out of sports. But what really kind of ties to the modern day sports, and really what we're here to talk about is sports, obviously. And I feel like you have the most unique and amazing perspective out of all of your perspectives on the Rangers, and that hope and that almost feeling of despair that as a Ranger collective we have felt. And what really stuck out to me was a quote you had when you were talking about before 94, and you were talking about, how early you got to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup final, which is extremely relatable, because I'm always just anxious something's going to go wrong and I'm not going to make it. I'm going to show up in the second period. But nonetheless, I felt that was relatable. But when you were talking about this team, you had described them as something to get in the way of something good. And that was the way you kind of summed up how it felt to be a Ranger fan before 1994. So coming back to the modern day as a pre-1994 Ranger fan myself, that's how I feel about the Rangers. That's just what they've shown me, just losing, hopes up, and eventually losing. And that's kind of how my perspective on it. So for you, who's seen the success in 94, seen the top of the mountain, seen that success, do you feel that way about the team now, or is it almost you're past it?
Well, I don't know if you're ever past it. That said, if your favorite team growing up is a team that has won the Stanley Cup once in 83 years, that's not much to, That said, I think, the 54 years was a big deal, in 1994. And the players, and one of the beauties of Messier was that he took it on. That he wasn't like, oh, don't mention that or anything.
Wait, let me do you one better. Hold on.
Chris has all these props.
I believe we have a visual coming.
There
you go.
Come on. I thought the Rod Jobert. I thought I'd.
No, it's good. It's good. I remember that night, Messier, after they won the cup, sitting at the podium saying they talk about the ghosts and the dragons and all that. And so, again, when I was there covering that night, I'd covered that team. And again, it's not about me. It's not about, hey, ain't I cool? I'm covering Game 7, blah, blah, blah. It's about how fortunate I am to be in the building for this historic moment in New York City and New York City sports history. Yeah. And I do think for my friends, about my age group who grew up, first loving that late 60s, early 70s team that was really good, but didn't quite make it, in part because of Bobby Orr, who was just the most beautiful thing on ice. Even a Ranger fan couldn't hate Bobby Orr.
Yeah,
that's how
undenied talent.
You could hate a lot of other guys on the Bruins, and certainly a certain team from Philadelphia who shall not be named.
Of course.
But I think for that generation, my generation, what goes on now, which they're a good team, all right? And at the time of this taping, in the playoffs, because there was a while there in the late 90s and early 2000s where they just didn't even make the playoffs, which, that's a whole nother discussion. So I don't think the angst for a certain generation is quite as much. That said, we are now almost talking 30 years. And, when I first started rooting for them, basically, I say 67, that was 27 years. So it dawned on me the other day, for someone who was, too little or not even born in 94. They're already at the point that I was at in 1967 and 68. Yeah. So I get it. Trust me, I get it. And there's still this feeling, I think what happens when you cover a team or cover sports, the old adage, no cheering in the press box. And I take that seriously. I took it seriously, and it's not that hard. And people say, oh, come on, how could you not root for the team that you grew up with? Is there something about it that if you're doing the job right, trust me, about 10 minutes in, you realize, okay, if you're jumping up and down in the press box, you're in the wrong job. Exactly. I'm not saying you take all the joy out of it, but there's still something about it where you're doing a job. Right. That said, every year, and I don't cover sports full time anymore, but I loved it when I did it, and I love to stay current with what's going on. Every year, the day after a Rangers season is kind of like, somber. Except for that one year. Yeah. When I'll just say this. I'll say this to you. When it happens again, not if, but when it happens again. I said to a friend who lives in St. Louis a few years ago when the Blues were on their good run and they won the cup, I said, the air will smell sweeter, food will taste better, everything. And that's true. So I think, what they've established now is they're a really good team. And how fortunate have Ranger fans been to see essentially from Richter to Lundqvist to Shesterkin. There are teams that are scrambling. I used to have maybe nightmares a little strong, but what if the Flyers, I'm sorry, I mentioned their name. What if the Flyers had drafted Henrik? Yeah. Oh boy, that would not have, no.
Similar to how people think of Yankee fans when they complain about Aroldis Chapman and Clay Holmes. It's like, well, you had 20 years of that not really having that problem in the closing department. Well, it's kind of a similar thing.
Look, you touched on something that is actually a pet peeve of mine. In the sense of, look, I get it that if you're a fan of the team, you want your team to win. That's what it's about. The notion, and I'm more interested in this as a reporter. I'm more interested in the stories. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm intrigued by guys who have an interesting background or have had an interesting path to where they are, and I'll get to that in 1 second. But of course, as a fan, mostly you want to see your team win. Of course, if they're good guys, if they do things in the community, God bless them. But mostly want to see them win. And if it goes like, oh my God, they haven't won in 10 years. When I hear a Yankee fan say that, I got it. That if they're also a Yankee fan who's 17 or 18, well, they haven't seen their team win the whole thing since 2009. It may seem like a drought. And but when I hear that, I'm like, oh, let's get some perspective here.
Yeah, of course.
There are droughts and then there are droughts.
Exactly. And you have that unique perspective of them all.
Yeah. Right. The famous line, I believe, is from a manager the Cubs hired in the early 90s named Jim Riggleman. And as the story goes, I've never actually seen the footage. I'm sure it exists on YouTube somewhere. The story goes at the press conference, and it's like 92, 93, I think. And Riggleman is asked, what do you think about the Cubs not winning the World Series since 1908? And Riggleman says, well, anybody can have a bad century, which is a classic line. I'm sure he had it teed up and ready to go. Sure. So, I think perspective is a good thing in the world of sports. I used to always maintain that, especially in the year, I wrote a piece about this in 2008 when both Yankee Stadium and Shea Stadium, the real Yankee Stadium, it was their final years. And I wrote a piece basically using the metaphor of we all want to be Yankee Stadium in life, but most of us in most days are Shea Stadium, that have that, like worked in, has some rust about it, has some not so wonderful things. It's not like an iconic place, but when it was loud, the victories were amazing and saw hard times as well. And I tried to make the metaphor, whether it worked or not, I don't know, but I wrote it anyway. And that most of us in life will try to ascend to that Yankee Stadium feel, that iconic feel. Mm-hmm. And we get it maybe sometimes sometimes in the limelight, sometimes not. And I took the feeling like most of us are like Shea, not Yankee. But look, for any fan, you want to see your team win. You want to see your team play hard, and you want to have a feeling like the team cares. And I think going back to the era when I covered, there's a reason why Adam Graves on that Rangers team is most likely the most beloved player from that team, because fans really got a sense, okay, here's a guy who's not, Messi, of course, is beloved. He brought the championship, but Adam Graves is a kind of a working guy and worked hard, and you got a feeling like he wore his emotions on his sleeve, and he really bled for the team and for the fans. John Stark's the same thing.
And
John Starks.
And in the modern day, guys like Ryan Lindgren and guys like Jalen Brunson, the real dirty workers that New Yorkers can resonate with.
Yeah, I just think, well, look, it also helps that they're good.
Yeah, of course. That always helps. Winning always helps.
Because a player who works hard, and, I'm always kind of naive about this, unless it's obvious that a guy is not, playing hard, although during the playoffs, everybody plays hard. I always think, guys work hard. I think Jalen Brunson is, look, the Knicks story, the sadness of the Knicks story is the notion that for 20 years, by and large, the team was either one year they were really good, but by and large, they're mediocre or less than mediocre. And in New York City, that is a real sadness. Because I had, for the radio documentary that you mentioned kindly, a long 3-hour radio documentary I did for the station that was then at 660 WNBC about the championship Knicks, late 60s, early 70s. And I interviewed just about all of them, which, trust me, you talk about labor of love, that was a labor of love. And so I interviewed Dave DeBusschere, who died many, many years ago. And he always I thought he had a great line. This is before the Yankees run during the 90s with Torrey, when, it was about as good as it got for Yankee fans. And Dave DeBusschere said, baseball, football, this is a basketball city. It's where the terminology for the game was created. And everybody who grew up in New York played some form of basketball, be it, schoolyard or in junior high school or CYO or so much of this.
Completely.
And I always thought that, and when I was covering in the 90s, it would be funny. You could have nothing going on. We did a sports show every night at New York One, which was part highlights, part interviews, part call-in. And you could depend on Nick calls always. Oh, certainly during the season, but even not during the season. Two things that would always get calls. What should the Knicks do? And should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? Okay. Always. Okay. That was the go-to if you had nothing going on. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but in the 90s, I remember during the playoffs, when the Knicks would be in the playoffs every year, and 2 times they went to the finals in 99 and 94, it just, you kind of heard it on the sidewalk. You heard it in the subway. You heard people talking about Mace and Oak and John, like on a first name basis, like they were friends of theirs. And I always felt like that was, when the Knicks are good, there's something different.
Hi, my name is Ryan Rucco, WFUV class of 2008. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One-on-One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
You're listening to WFUV, New York.
Great interview with 10-10 Wins' Bud Mishkin, all things Rangers, Knicks, New York sports. Chris, I know you had a blast during
Absolutely.
that interview. And we're back here on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. Before we get into our baseball segment, we are going to be having a chance for you to win some Yankee tickets for the May 24th game at 7 o'clock against the Baltimore Orioles. If you can answer this question, when was the last time an MLB team won a World Series after not making the playoffs the season prior? So we need the team and the year. If you want to answer that question, make sure to call in at 718-817-2750. Again, 718-817-2750 to win Yankees tickets to the May 24th game against the Baltimore Orioles at 7 o'clock. Should be an interesting couple of hours here with this trivia, because I feel like this is a question that not a lot of people are going to think hard about, because everyone's just going to be like, oh, I know the answer, and then they're going to say something, and it could be wrong, but I'm not going to spoil the fun here. But we do have to talk baseball. We do have to talk about the Yankees to start. They lost last night to the Texas Rangers 5-2, and this is with Jacob deGrom leaving early with an injury. We are not sure what the injury is just yet. There's some speculation out on the internet that it could be Tommy John. Again, not entirely sure, so we're not going to speculate on his medical status. But the Yankees right now sit at 15-12. They've had an up and down start to the year. I mean, they lost a series to the Twins, which they didn't do in a long time. They lost their second game of the year to the Giants 7-5. They lost to the Phillies 4-1, and the Orioles kind of pushed them around a little bit, which was a little scarier than you might think if you're a Yankee fan. But it's been very up and down to start the year for this Yankee team, and we all thought they were going to be better. Now Aaron Judge might be out as well. He's got an ailment that's going to keep him out for a little bit. And this Yankee lineup without Aaron Judge is really something. It is not exactly ideal. It's not something you want to see, especially when the pinch hitter off the bench is Anthony Volpe, who I think is going to be good, but right now is just not having a good experience in the MLB. But I'll turn it over to the two of you. What are your thoughts right now on the Yankees, and where do you think we go from here?
I would be pretty nervous if I were a Yankee fan. It is early. If you do not have Aaron Judge, it is not going to be a good season, especially with the division that you're in. I'm a Red Sox fan. The Red Sox will be fourth, probably fifth. I'm not crapping on the Yankees because I think the Red Sox will do better. They're not going to do better than the Yankees this year. I think that's
abundantly clear.
It would be absolutely silly for me to say.
The Red Sox are also the only team in the division that isn't a playoff team.
Really?
Correct.
Yeah, probably.
Squarely not.
Yes.
Correct.
So it's just interesting, that dynamic, and I really love that point you made, because it feels different with Judge. The injuries happen with Stanton. The injuries happen with these guys. With Judge is different. This doesn't happen with Judge very often. Judge's consistency, there's a reason he could hit 62 home runs in a year. It's the consistency. It's a reason why he's captain, and I feel like it could hurt, and I think it would be more demonstrative to the team than I think brings on to the naked eye, which I kind of think was the point that you were trying to make in a lot of ways.
Exactly. The Yankee organization, since they've had Aaron Judge, doesn't know how to deal with this, with Aaron Judge.
Right.
They know, again, the Stanton, they know other injuries, but this is a big one, and this is their big star. And it's important to note that sometimes when you lose your big star, you lose the stats, right? You lose the runs, you lose the buckets in basketball, the goals in soccer. But for some stars, it hurts the locker room, and then that hurts everyone else. And this is an example where, especially with, obviously him chasing the record towards the end of last year, the atmosphere was great. I went to the Yankees-Sox game last September.
I caught that too.
Yeah. No, it always sneaks in. Last September, and the atmosphere was great because it was an Aaron Judge event.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, of course it was.
Which the last third of the season felt like.
Exactly.
Which could have maybe hurt the team in the playoffs.
Right. There's certainly an
There's
argument
another point
there.
to be made. That's another, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think baseball's enough of a team game where it's like you can't ball hog in baseball. That's not how it works.
Otani and Trout would be making the playoffs sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Once in a while.
If it were a star-based game, the Angels would put up better playoff numbers than they do. Their playoff numbers would be existent.
And I feel like the consistency in the Yankee lineup from guys who are consistently healthy and that consistent production has been super important for this team. Guys like Rizzo and Glaber, who really do play every single day and, don't necessarily to be as affected by the injury bug than maybe the rest of the roster. The fact that both of them, obviously Rizzo is batting .300 with 5 home runs, just absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. And then obviously Torres just kind of been a little bit down like a couple weeks ago, but he's kind of hitting that form now that he was in that was so amazing earlier in the season. And also I think Thomas is being too hard on Volpe, who's been stellar on the defensive side of the ball, has stolen a bunch of bases. He's batting .226, which isn't even that bad, and he's 20 years old. I'd give him more than 3 weeks of time before we make a judgment on him so far. And I just think he's just our best option at shortstop in general. I just don't think we have a better shortstop.
Chris, I have to interrupt you. We have a caller for the trivia.
Okay.
We have Alex on the line. Alex, do you want to try to answer the trivia question?
Absolutely, Thomas. I got the 2019 Washington Nationals.
That is correct. You have won the Yankee tickets to the May 24th game, 7 o'clock. Our YouTube listeners were the ones who were able to get this, so congratulations, Alex. Make sure you hit us up on our socials, and we'll get you those Yankee tickets. Congratulations on our winner for the Yankee ticket giveaway.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah.
I think that was the fastest I've ever done a show, and the trivia question gets answered. I would say, what was that, about a 10-ish minute gap?
Gotta be less.
Less than that, around, we'll say the 8-minute to 10-minute range. That was impressive. That's impressive. Put that guy on Jeopardy. Seriously, put him on Jeopardy. I think he could win it.
Or he looked it up.
What are the Washington Nationals? Well, I was going to say, when we copy and pasted the question into Google, give us the wrong answer.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It did. This
It
is
gave
true.
us the wrong answer.
They gave us, what did they give us?
They gave us the Giants.
They did.
Which
year?
was probably published
2012.
before the Nationals won the World Series.
Yep.
Well,
I feel like,
3 years?
Why else would it be?
No, the Nationals.
But it didn't say the context. It just said the Giants won the World Series in 2012.
Gotcha.
That didn't say
Gotcha.
right.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Gotcha.
It didn't.
That makes
fully
sense.
say,
Okay, well, that makes more
Chat
sense.
GBT, et cetera.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Chat GBT, really? God. I'm not gonna start.
Yeah, don't. Yeah.
I'm not.
But
But Chris, please continue.
I just feel like the consistency from Glaber and Rizzo, especially in the infield, where those two guys have kind of been playing really well on that right side of the infield, where our defense is kind of needed. And I feel like that offensive production, not even in a production of how many runs they're producing, but just the consistency when they get up to the dish every time, I think it's just something that is really needed in this Yankee lineup. Maybe it's been needed for almost like a decade. And I think that, especially with a guy like Rizzo, who has 5 home runs and does rely on that power, for him to be consistent at a .300 batting average, it's really good signs for the Yankees, and I think it gives more reasons for the Yankees fans not to panic in April.
I also, this is my other concern with the Yankees. I mean, this is every year, and this is also every team, is injuries. But for the Yankees, it's been more apparent because the 2019 season is the one that immediately comes to mind because of how many people got hurt that year. I mean, I'm looking at that right now. DJ LeMay, well, he was pretty healthy. Didi Gregorius played 82 games. Tauchman played 87 games. Encarnacion was a trade deadline pickup. But again, you go through it. Stanton played 18 games. Clint Frazier 69 games. Aaron Hicks 59 games. Cameron Maybin had to fill in for a while. Aaron Judge played 102. Like, this injury trend has been the thing with this Yankees team for a while. And now that their guys are 5 years older, like Stanton's 33, Aaron Judge is 31. Not that, they're not getting any younger. Right? Torres is 26, and he's been pretty durable, I would say. Rizzo's 33. I can keep going. The point stands that this Yankee team is getting old. The injuries will happen, right? Like, their pitching staff is obliterated right now for the most part. Like, no Luis Severino.
Except the best pitcher in baseball.
Garrett Cole?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, he's been amazing.
He can throw the rock.
No one in the league has pitched better than him to start the season.
He can shove a little bit.
He can, that's an understatement.
He can shove. No, that was sarcastic.
I know.
Do we have any takes on the Hicks error and then the
Oh God!
Like, but
I have my takes on Aaron Hicks, but
I feel like I think mine's gonna be the exact opposite to Thomas's. I feel like that guy makes an error. It's just like, I get if it's bad, but it's just like I don't know. He did too much for me as a Yankee fan growing up to be on this like Aaron Hicks dumping 24/7 train that everyone's on.
well,
and it wasn't that.
And that's what I mean.
it wasn't that bad. But I think what it really,
If that was Oswaldo, like, it's not getting the attention it got. Like, it's just not.
but it's also I think the counter argument and why people do it is that Aaron Hicks is 33 years old. He's been with the Yankees since 2016. He knows the expectation of what people expect out of him. And after 2019, his numbers were kind of terrible. Like, he just was getting hurt, wasn't getting on base, he wasn't hitting the ball well. People were accusing him of being lazy, and now he was making the comments about play me or trade me. And I don't think the Yankees fans would be mad if the Yankees did the latter to him, because Harrison Bader is objectively a better player than him, and he's much better for the team.
Yeah.
But the point stands that he's just not what they need right now. I think that's why Yankee fans they feel that way about him. Like, right now, 135 batting average. He's not getting on base. He's not hitting for power. He's not really even hitting, period. He's 5 hits in 37 at bats. I mean, I don't know how much worse it can get.
OPS at 355.
Yeah, like, come on, really? Like, that's a center fielder in the MLB as an offensive
for the
player.
New York Yankees.
For the Yankees, especially when you factor that part in, it's quite annoying. You know what it reminds me of? I'm going to make another college basketball reference. Remember when C.J. McCollum beat Duke in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, this is such a sick upset, but then you factor in that it's Duke. Aaron Hicks is the center fielder for the New York Yankees. Just think about that. Center field is already a hard position.
But as a Yankee fan, let me ground it. Like, you keep saying the New York Yankees. Team hasn't won a championship in 15 years.
Okay, but Chris,
we keep saying this. Like, yeah, he's playing. Like, yeah,
he's not playing well.
We're the Nationals and Braves have more championships than we do in the last decade. Like, we're like, if he was playing for either of those teams, you wouldn't be like, he's playing center field for the Braves.
No, I actually totally would say the same thing.
I don't agree. No,
because when I say New York Yankees, I'm not saying the
only reason that guy's suiting up for a
Empire,
single game is because of injuries. That guy's not in any Yankee lineup where it's injuries are not a factor. He's only in the lineup because of injuries. Like, this is April things. Like, let's not. I feel like not necessarily you guys, but just like internet in general has such like a almost anxiety when it comes to Aaron Hicks, because they're afraid ALDS Game 1 rolls around, he's going to be in that lineup, and Yankee fans are terrified of that. So I feel like the dumping is almost just like it's getting over the top.
Irrelevant, maybe, because I don't think he will be in the lineup.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's it's such an irrelevant anxiety to have from Yankee fans, this constant dumping on the guy because you don't want him to be in the roster.
No, I agree.
When it's important times, I just want to leave him alone. And he hit my favorite Yankee home run ever. That home run against Verlander,
that
3-run home run in
That was so
2017
sick.
ALCS is my favorite home run ever.
But I think it's also, the dumping is maybe unnecessary, but it's also, too, you could do better than that for center field replacements for the meantime at this point in his career.
Can we?
You can do better than more than
roster. No,
you can do better than more than a quarter of the plate appearances being strikeouts.
Yeah,
of course.
you can do better than that.
I think you can do better than
I think if you can put Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in the outfield,
which
somehow,
I think is a better idea, because IKF's actually a good hitter. He just gets crapped on because of how bad his defending is.
Oh, yeah. He also does not hit for power. Let's also acknowledge the obvious.
The guy's like a career 280 hitter, though.
Yes, but
163 so far, early days. But
yes, it is early. It is
the
April.
whole team, though. It's more of an infection the entire team has that none of them are just consistently hitting the ball at all.
My other issue, too, this has been fixed a little bit, was the balance of lineup, right? No, it was all righties and maybe 2 switch hitters. They needed more lefties.
It was all righties and Brett Gardner for like 4 years.
Yeah, they got lefties. Rizzo, you got Cabrera who can switch, and you've got more like Franchi Cordero. I mean, he just got.
Cordero.
I know he just got optioned.
Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle, literally.
Babe Ruth in the flesh.
Yeah, Jesus. Like, he's a lefty, but you keep going. Like, Willie Calhoun's a lefty. Some of these people, like some of these lefties, are good, but again, if you're the Yankees, you can do better than Franchi Cordero. That's my overall.
Well, the Red Sox the past 2 years have done better than Franchi Cordero.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's where it really gets scary, because it's first of all, it's the Red Sox, but the Red Sox team is
the Red Sox don't even want to be good, and their center field is better.
It's something. Who is your center fielders? Duran.
Oh. He's fine.
He's fine. He's hitting. He's on fire right now. 436.
He's
average.
doing well.
He's on fire.
He's so feast or famine. It's not even funny. And
he really is.
I mean,
I agree.
He's one of those guys that's just revolving door. AAA, Major League, up, down, up, down, up, down. Keeps going in between. And a lot of people are saying that he's in the show to stay.
It's hard to judge now.
It's so hard to judge, no pun intended.
I mean, you look at his offensive production alone, the first 2 years, sub 225 batting average. Right now, he's, again, on fire, but, is that going to come down to earth at some point? Which I feel like it will.
It almost has to.
Yeah, it just kind of has to. But we'll also have to go crosstown because there's another team in New York really quickly. The Mets.
7 train to Queens.
How do you know? Oh, yeah, I guess you
go to school in New York. Is that?
Yeah, see, I've never gone to a Mets game, and I don't really plan on going.
That is kind of like, I feel like from here, it's hard to get to Citi Field.
It's hard. Well, relative to how close the Yankee Stadium.
Of course, yeah.
Right, that's
yeah.
why.
I could walk to
compared
Yankee,
Yankee
Stadium. I could walk there if I wanted to.
I don't know about that.
Well,
you could. It's a
technically
hour walk.
Yeah.
That's
minutes?
good exercise.
Yeah, I mean the ambiance, the environment you're in probably wouldn't be the most incredible, but nonetheless, I don't know. The Mets story is interesting when you look at their record and you kind of look at the storyline and the momentum of the season. Kind of feels similar to the other side of town in a lot of ways.
I would disagree,
but I'm talking result. Like objectively, they're
both 15 and 12.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's not even just the record. I just feel like momentum has just been similar. I feel like obviously in the beginning of the year, the Verlander news on opening day was like,
that was amazing.
That was already an injury overcast over the Mets season, similar to the Yankees. But overall, I just feel like another thing that's been very interesting with the Mets is I feel like they've been talked about significantly less in New York and sports media in general than the Yankees this year, when I didn't think that was going to be true this year. I thought because of last year and the year before, since the Steve Cohen era has began, it's almost seemed the Mets have received similar amount of attention from the New York media. And it just seems this year that I don't know what it is, but they're just flying under the radar and they're just very almost undercover.
Also, when I said I said the Verlander news, that was amazing, as in like, that's amazing because it's just such a Mets thing to happen.
Right.
Really,
Mets are going to Met.
They are going to Met. Look, this is April. They're 15 and 12. I mean, they're second in the NL East. My thing with the NL East is you got to beat the Braves if you want to win the division. They are always, every single year, they're 18 and 19. Even when you look at them, you're like, they're not that good this year. No, they come out and punch you in the face because they are a very well-run organization. And Ronald Acuna, my star player on my fantasy baseball team, he's cooking like he always does, 352 average. He's already got 4 home runs, 14 RBIs. I mean, that's really all you need. He makes the whole thing go. And their pitching has really emerged. I mean, again, you look at it, like Charlie Morton is good, but he's also 39 years old. He's kind of, the whole thing's pretty good right now. And you have to think these guys can go deep in the playoffs again.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely, there's a lot of, it's very unpredictable right now. I think it's kind of the best word. I was kind of trying to look for more of an astute word, but unpredictable just kind of seems to be the best way to describe this MLB season, because I just don't feel like there's any teams that are really flying out amongst the rest of the pack. It doesn't feel that way.
Let me counter that. Is it unpredictable because it's unpredictable, or is it unpredictable because it's early? And I think it's a combination of both.
I feel like it's both, yeah.
I think it's a combination of both.
I feel like this year, more than any other year, we have less of an understanding of what October is going to look like.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And a lot of that has to do, I think, with teams like the Orioles, like you said, being a non-surprising playoff team. That would not be shocking when /
and some teams not playing as well as last year. Teams like the Mariners and Astros, who were playoff teams last year, trying to float above water at 500 right now. Like it's a weird teams like the Texas Rangers, 7 games above 500. Like just these little weird, quirks with these teams and how they're playing right now. It's just you don't want to obviously over analyze the importance of momentum in April, which I think is the most important thing.
Well, we got to table our baseball discussion, and we're gonna go to a quick break. Coming up, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Caleb and Chris, I know you two are absolutely amped for that segment. We're going to take a quick break here on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show.
You're listening to WFUV, New York.
Welcome back to One on One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. Thomas Aiello, Chris Carrino, Caleb Stein. All right, it's Chell time. NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs. Excuse me.
This kid loves the word Chell, by the way.
Loves it. Loves
Chell.
Chell.
Chell
Chell around.
Chell is jargon in this culture environment. That is how we refer to the NHL. Chell, like when we play.
In my life, I've referred to Chell as the video game, the NHL video game.
But
I don't
Chell
refer to the actual NHL as Chell. That seems a bit insane to me.
Why?
Because Chell seems like very innocent and immature, and it's just not a way to describe professional hockey players.
Look,
but the hockey, the video game, they should just call it Chell.
Wasn't this year's Chell the greatest NHL game ever?
I don't know. I don't play them anymore.
I'm not a gamer.
Oh, you're not a gamer?
No gamer.
Interesting.
All right, Chris, were you a gamer?
Yeah, but not on this year's NHL.
Oh.
But they added a new engine, so it was good. But anyway.
Okay.
Go on with your Chell.
It's just a funny word to say. So let's start local. Rangers Devils. That's been the series in this area. It's the intermetropolitan area rivalry. The Jersey team versus the New York team, and Devils are up 3-2 right now, going into Game 6. This has been a wild, wild ride. And Chris, I know you're a big Rangers guy, so I'm going to let you have opening tip here and take us through the first thoughts on this Rangers-Devils series.
Yeah, well, I'll be there tonight at the Garden, hopefully to see the Rangers season not end. But it's been an interesting series. It shows how quick momentum changes in hockey and in the NHL more than anything. 6 days ago, Ryan Whitney was tweeting the Rangers are going to win the Stanley Cup. Might as well give them the cup now. Everybody go home. And now everyone's saying we're not getting out of everyone's convinced we're not even going to get out of the first round. I wasn't saying we were going to win the Stanley Cup when people were saying that, and I'm not saying we're going to lose this series when people are saying that. I'm trying to stay very even keel with this team. This Ranger team from past years has shown me not get too excited and not get too down. But with that said, when you're kind of talking about on-ice things, and on-ice things really came to its biggest downfall in the last two games, because the first game they lost in the series, that Game 3 at the Garden, it's an overtime loss. It was a loss that you could argue that they didn't get outplayed 1 minute of that game. But they lost nonetheless. So when you go back for that Game 4 back to the Garden, you think, we got to get our get back here. We can't go back 2-2. We can't just gift them their home ice back. And they did exactly that. They came out extremely flat for the entire 60 minutes, Game 4 and 5, and just played some of the more uninspired hockey I've seen the Rangers play in the last couple of years, and it was really disappointing to see. On the other hand, when you look at it from a positive light, it seems like this Ranger team and the DNA that it shares and kind of the culture that they've built there, it's that when their backs against the wall, they very much play their best hockey. So I'm hoping for that tonight, and that's just kind of how I've seen it from my point of view.
The Rangers have really fallen off in the series.
Wow.
Obviously they started 10 goals, 2 games, crazy numbies, and then, obviously they don't break.
And only gave up 2 in the first 2 games, too. They outscored them 10-2 in the first 2 games.
And then it almost, not quite, it almost went the other way the rest of the series. And I think it's true. The Rangers do play their best hockey on the ice when there's pressure mounting, when they have a chip on their shoulder, but they're going to Jersey for Game 7 if they force it.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to it's across the river. It's not,
And we outscored them 10-2 there like a week ago.
Right. Yeah. But can that happen again? The odds.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Right. But were you at any of the Jersey games or only?
No, I was at. I actually, ironically, they played at Jersey like the second to last week of the season, and the Rangers got like their doors blown off.
Because what would you say is like the fan spread? Like, is it 50-50 or
okay.
Probably leans Devils in Jersey, right?
So
like in the stadium.
Yeah. So originally on a normal year, like a Devil bad year where the Rangers are good, it's like 70 Ranger fans. 70%.
That's what I would imagine.
But when I was looking at it Game 1, like when it's the playoffs and they're both really good, it's probably 60 to 65 Rangers.
Okay.
And then that Game 5 kind of looked like 50-50.
Really?
Maybe more Devils. Might have been more Devil fans, honestly.
Okay.
Like, and that has maybe never happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say
ever.
That's surprising.
And
yeah.
it really shows how young the team is and how exciting they are and how excited truly everybody is.
Yeah, Frank the Tank, man.
Frank the
started.
Tank.
He's leaving the Nets. Have you seen this?
Who?
No.
He's leaving the Nets.
What do you mean leaving?
Oh,
Like,
Frank the Nets. Frank the Tank.
He's leaving the Nets.
He is
like, who's his team now?
He's a free agent. This is not the biggest joke you've ever heard in your life.
You've never heard of Frank the Tank leaving his Nets fandom. You don't know about this?
No.
Oh my God, it is. He posted
because
a
this
video.
guy.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
He draws the line at the Nets when he's been a fan
Right.
of when he's been a fan of the Dolphins and the Mets his
The
entire
Mets.
life.
Yeah, I know.
He draws the line at the Nets. I can't. That's too much.
Well, I'm
Like,
too
come
distracted
on.
by that content
Give me
that I
a-
can't even focus.
Give
on
me a
basketball
break,
stuff.
Frank. I love Frank, but give me a break.
The Mets. Frank the Tank. I just can't with him.
But anyway, yeah, he's leaving our fandom, so I'm not really cool with Frank right now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I hate to open a wound there, Chris.
But Devil fans, they seem to be excited about the team, and I think Jack Hughes is really showing that just how valuable a superstar in hockey can be. He's
Great set of hair, by the way.
Yes, and transformed that organization now. Like, it boggles my mind when I just look at how many jerseys they've sold with that guy's name on it when I walk around.
It's scary.
Staggering.
It's scary.
Staggering for a 21-year-old to have that much support from just a community that isn't necessarily even as mainstream as these other sports when we talk about hockey. Incredible to see. As a Jersey native, it's awesome to see. As a Ranger fan, it makes me want to throw up.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's how you describe it?
Yes.
Jesus. Well, I think this thing too, with the Devils, I do want to stick on them for a second. Excuse me, having a rough time over here. But since their last Stanley Cup appearance in 2012, they went to the playoffs in 2018. But that was one of those, I would say, fluke years because they had this weird team of, they had older guys that were like kind of on their way out, and this was their last little hurrah. But since that, it's been quite depressing out in New Jersey. And here they are now with a superstar player in Jack Hughes. They made a huge pickup at the deadline, who I believe it was for Nico Hershiers. I'm saying his name correctly.
Nico Hershiers, the captain.
Like picking him up was absolutely huge. And this whole thing has turned around. And they've got all these young guys, all these really just incredibly talented young men. And the thing with the Devils is, if they somehow pull this one off and beat the Rangers, I mean, to me, that's just like, it's like the mind-blowing moment because they've got the talent on paper, in my opinion.
Course, yeah.
They have the talent.
They were favorites in the series before the series started.
But the Rangers, they've been to the conference finals. They've been in like the highest level of hockey, essentially, with this group at least. Yeah. Like, they know what it takes. If the Devils pull this off, I mean, I would have to imagine they pull a Nets and try to accelerate this timeline a little bit here, where they try to get the big fish and really push for it. No, you don't think so?
No, it's just like just throwing a Nets slate. Like, why? Like, we're talking about the Devils. We don't even play in Jersey anymore. Why? There's no need. There's no need for that.
I mean, why not play
also,
at the Rock?
that's not how hockey. That's not how hockey works either. You don't add the star.
Well,
like, they are built to win a champ. They are good enough to win a championship now.
You think they can, with all these little kids, they can win the Stanley Cup?
Like, they're the number one road team in the NHL, like, on record. They were like in Vegas picked to win the series in the first round. And have the fourth highest odds to win the Stanley Cup. So like, I don't like, they are good enough to win. And like, adding a star, as we've seen in New York, when you had a guy like Patty Kane at the deadline, might make you worse. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he's also on the older side too. He's not
too old though.
He had two apples and a goal in the first game. No one was complaining then.
Yeah.
No,
he's too old. Yeah,
now he's played 2 bad games. The guy's too old though.
Yeah. The guy's too old. Yeah. Like, but see, that's the other thing. The other funny thing about New York fans is how quickly they'll.
I was gonna say average New York fan moment.
I've said it like 4 times on this podcast today. Yeah. It's true. It's everything. Like, especially with the Rangers.
We need to have a big sign that says New York fans, just like describing
guy with a sign.
Dude with a sign. Yes.
But also the momentum and things like that is different as well because it's every other day. So it's like so many more games are happening in such less time too that it could feel like the momentum is changing more than it usually is.
Your prep really has to be on point. Yeah. That's like what really changes up hockey. But I think the other one I want to discuss, Caleb, this one I think is for you. We have to discuss the Bruins because they had a historic season. So I'm going to let you go, Mr. Bruins.
Or historic collapse.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. What do you think, Caleb?
Historic season that will not collapse in this round. That's what I'll say. Yeah. That is what I'm going to say.
President's Cup's a terrible jinx to have. That's the worst cup in the history of sports.
I don't even know the word you just said. I can
President's
only spell
Cup.
It. I can only spell it. I can't say it.
I have to interrupt the hockey talk really quickly. DeAndre Swift has just been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, as informed by Julia.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow is
who is their RB1? Like, who would have, like, next season walking in training camp, who was the RB1?
Kenneth Gainwell? Wait, never mind.
I don't. This DeAndre Swift move is interesting. I do think, if we're just gonna discuss it just really quickly, I do think it was important for him to go to a situation where it was like a contender. Because I do think he's a talented enough guy. I think on a team that's average or below average, his talent isn't used like as effectively as it can be.
Yeah.
And I think second or third back on a really good contending team is kind of where DeAndre fits the best in the NFL.
He is a Philly native, so it makes
that works too.
That makes a lot of sense. That works in his favor. In fact, he's going to be running behind one of the best offensive lines in football, maybe one of the best. Period. Given the amount of talent that the
I make
Eagles
this
have.
joke I make this joke to my friends all the time. There's like 5 good offensive lines in the NFL. All the other ones are terrible.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
There's 27 NFL franchises that their fan bases complain about their offensive line. About 5 that don't. And those are the ones that are pretty good.
Yeah.
Everyone else just says that's their issue.
Well, let's go back to the ice.
Yeah, back to
I
the
want
ice.
Caleb to
back to the Brews.
Yeah, I want to hear the Bruins.
Back to the Bees.
Back to the Bees. See, my question is, do they have Dunkin' Donuts before every game?
They got to.
Okay.
They got to. Of
All right,
course
good,
they do.
good,
Of course
good,
they
good.
do. Yeah.
Good.
I think the Bruins take this. Obviously, would have to be in 7. You can't go to. This will piss you guys off.
Oh, no.
The Garden.
Which garden?
The Garden.
He's
the TD Garden.
Yeah, the TD Garden.
You can't go to the Garden again
It's
for
like us
Game
calling
7.
it the Chase. Like, imagine MSU is called the Chase Garden. I would throw up again. Ugh. Like TD Garden. Ugh.
Nothing
yellow
beats MS.
seats. Oh,
Yeah,
they got rid
come
of those,
on,
though.
yellow
Aren't they black
seats,
now?
really?
They're black now.
Yeah, I kind of
Okay.
liked the yellow. I think it was kind of like a part of the building.
Well, but then when you don't have someone sitting there, it's like the same. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you mean.
You see what I mean?
I
You see
see
what I
what
mean?
you're
Now?
saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like a-
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But yeah,
That
black
makes
seats
sense.
now. But yeah, I think the Bruins take this in 7. They have their back against the wall a little bit. They are locked in now.
Yeah.
Jason
they
Tatum's
have to be
Jason
locked in.
Tatum's gym classmate in high school, Matthew Chuck. How do you
Wait,
feel about him?
really?
Really?
Wait, no, actually, are you serious?
Well, yeah, they were in the same gym class at Chaminade in St. Louis, and then they both went on to win the All-Star Game MVP in the same year of their respective major sport that they play in, which is like the coolest thing ever.
I'm gonna Google this.
It's a fact. I know it is.
I want to see the
That's kind
picture.
of sick.
Yeah, so Matthew Tkachuk won the NHL All-Star Game MVP, and Tatum won the NBA All-Star Game MVP, and they were like friends in high school too. Anyway,
should have been our trivia question.
so that's how Tkachuk kind of fits into the Boston kind of thing because he's
Right,
boys
right.
with Tatum. Anyway, Tkachuk is kind of the boogeyman for you in a lot of ways. I feel like he is really one of the only guys that has the gifts that can beat you.
You stop him, you stop for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting
Absolutely.
stuff.
And I think, the Bruins have been here before more times than any of the Panthers.
Of course.
They're the veteran team to end all veteran teams
course.
in the East. They're a mature hockey team. And when you're a mature player and when you're a mature player on the ice and you're just a mature professional as far as your hockey career, which are two different things, you know what to do in a Game 7 where you botched 2 games in a row.
Of course, yeah.
One home, one away.
And there's going to be more urgency because these guys don't know how many more of these they're going to get either. Guys like Marchand, guys like Bergeron.
Right.
Bergeron's health is also one of the bigger question marks that's been running through the series for the last 6 games.
37 years old playing
Like,
hockey.
that is... but you
Kinda
guys are
sick.
used to that. Like, Chara was 41, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Chara was old when they got him.
Like, yeah, what Ray Bork was playing till he was like 42 or something like that.
so
Like,
old, yeah.
These guys just, I don't know, Boston keeps these guys around for a long time.
I feel like the thing is though, for Boston, for me, it's like their mentality is like, okay, we're gonna get old and stay old. But that's almost like a good thing because
That's every
the
sport they have.
experience-
That's not
yeah,
bad, yeah.
That's not a bad thing at all. Like,
That was the Patriots thing,
yeah, Patriots. That's
Red Sox thing.
Red Sox.
Big Poppy, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Boston,
a
the
very
Celtics.
good, yeah.
Well, the Celtics, they kind
It's
of
not really with the Celtics.
not now,
But it's the first time that
the
they've
first
done it
time
like
they've
this.
gone
yeah.
young and they're this good. I think from at least watching the NBA
Yeah.
in my
Oh,
years.
yes,
probably.
yes. Our
Right.
generation, that's true.
Yeah, like Bobby Orr was there for. I mean, he was 30 when he retired, but the point stands. He was there for a long time, 10 years in Boston, and he's one of the greatest hockey players ever. But the fact they can just keep these guys around, even when they're up there in age and they're still really effective, even in a smaller role, that's just what makes the Boston Bruins, I think, one of the best run organizations. And in terms of their winning,
who had one of the best regular seasons ever this year. They lost how many? Did they even lose 10 games?
They lost 12.
That's
with 135 points. That's scary. That's terrible.
That is so different. Like, just so different.
Yeah, they
Bruins are just built different this year. They really are.
Yeah, they are built different. But we are going to table our hockey discussion. That was a lot of fun, and we have an interview. We have a second one with a hockey guy. I think you guys might know who this guy is. I think Don LaGreca. We all know who that is? Okay, that was sarcastic. But the Don LaGreca from the Michael K. Show coming up with Sam Bohr and Lou Orlando. We'll take a quick break here on One on One.
What's up, everyone? I'm Julia Moss, one of the hosts of WFUV's women's sports podcast, All In. Join us each week as we break down everything from the WNBA, women's collegiate sports, the NWSL, and so much more. We're also joined by recurring hosts including Maddie Bamonte, Taylor Masetta, Sam Bohr, and Annabelle Watson. All In is a production of WFUV Sports.
Welcome back to One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. Lou Orlando here alongside Samantha Bohr. It's an absolute honor to be joined now by Don LaGreca. Don's been the co-host of the Michael K. Show for the last 21 years. He's got an NHL podcast called Game Misconduct. And he's a play-by-play broadcaster for the New York Rangers on ESPN Radio. So with the Stanley Cup playoffs going on, Don, welcome back to One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. Lou Orlando here alongside Samantha Bohr. It's an absolute honor to be joined now by Don LaGreca. Don's been the co-host of the Michael K. Show for the last 21 years. He's got an NHL podcast called Game. He's a play-by-play broadcaster. For the New York Rangers on ESPN Radio. The Stanley Cup playoffs going on, Don. How's everything?
Very busy, but a lot of fun. How are you guys doing?
We're okay. It's been a really fun time. And Don, I want to start with this. You got the chance to call the first two games of the Rangers Devils series. Growing up a Devils fan, and taking the Rangers job, obviously the Rangers job, obviously you go into a series like this. Is it extra special? Is it extra special? Is it a my hometown team right there?
I've gotten over that. The turning point for me came in 2012 conference when Henrique scored the game-winning goal in Game 6. I was like ice level, and I would do reports from the ice and intermission reports. Like I said, I grew up a Devil fan. That's how I got introduced to hockey. I got back into hockey when they came into the league. Henrique scores. He's celebrating by the glass where I was standing, and I'm thinking to myself, a younger Don would be pounded on the glass to the Stanley Cup final. But deciding to be a part of the Rangers organization, do games and call games. I was disappointed because I wanted the Rangers to continue. I wanted there to be a game 7. I wanted them to be a game 7. I wanted them to go to the final. 2 years later, they would go to the final against the Kings. Circumstances presented themselves. I got to do game 1. I got to do game 1, which was like awesome. I always wanted to do play-by-play. I always wanted to do play-by-play since I was a kid. And the Rangers gave me that opportunity. It was an easy decision to put aside fandom for sacrificed so much to become in my career. I get asked that a lot. It was a real easy decision. For me. I root for all three local teams because they play well. And talk about it on the Michael K. Show and all that. But there was that moment in 2012. But really, I'm just excited because there's so much exposure now. Playing each other, the rivalry and all that. But like my Devil fandom, that's old Don now. That's old Don. New Don's got the New Don's got a different life, and I'm really excited about it.
I love that. New Dawn. New Dawn. I think that's so funny. I think that's so funny. A couple things in there. A couple things in there. Really exciting. Really exciting. Obviously with the Stanley Cup game there, and then obviously you're on there, and then Michael K show, and the Michael K show, and so you are a big hockey fan. You host that podcast. You don't get to talk about hockey. You don't get to talk about hockey probably on the Michael K show. On the Michael K show, we get that it's like the fourth sport nationally out of the as people call it. But do you ever get kind of frustrated with the lack of attention or interest in the NHL? We're seeing it pick up. We're seeing it pick up. But
oh yeah, definitely. Well, that's how it was born. Because I wanted an outlet to be able to talk about the sport. And I understand it's pecking order. Although you're right. Although when you look at the numbers for the series, at time on Tuesday they all the other sports going on. The other sports going on. Cavs includes Yankees, Cavs includes and the Mets. So it's definitely on the uptick for sure, but yeah, on the daily basis, but yeah, on the daily basis, there's Giants, more Nets, the Giants, draft with Aaron Rodgers, have a chance to close out the Cavs, Yankees offense struggling. It's very difficult to have it. Very difficult to have a pecking order. So that's why game misconduct started. Because too much information I needed to get out. I started doing it every day. Too much once I started. Too much once I started twins. That I did it 2 or 3 days. I did it 2 or 3 days. If we talked more hockey on the Michael K show, there probably wouldn't be a podcast.
I do feel like one of my frustrations with kind of hockey sport at the national level is I really feel like the sport is so awesome, and it was funny talking to the kids and talking the Islanders this year. Came up to me and said, hockey wasn't on my radar. Then got to cover the game. I'm all in. This sport's awesome. It feels like the way people talk about sports nowadays and grit that they think is lacking. Like they think feels like hockey has all that. Feels like hockey has all that fighting. They have the speed. They have all that. What's been the missing link between the NHL and the fans that they need to connect to?
Listen, I was in that boat. I didn't really become a major hockey fan until the mid '80s. My girlfriend at the time had to the Devils, and we started to go. And we started to go, and then the Devils made the run to the conference final in '88, and that's when I really fell in love with it. I was a giant fan. I was a giant fan. Sports that I was really into. And part of the reason was my dad. Part of the reason was my dad fan or a hockey fan or a hockey fan. It wasn't a sport that we play. We play baseball. We play basketball. We play basketball in some way, shape, or form. But hockey, where we grow up, maybe you play some street hockey or whatever. You're not exposed to play. You're not exposed. I made the example. When you consider the percentage of people that have not played the sport. When you consider how few Americans relative to the other sports play. It really shows you how great. It really shows you how it has the exposure and the interest There's so many disadvantages. Everybody grows up around baseball. They have it on baseball. They have it on there. It's available to them in high school and college. Constantly on television. When I grew up, the '79 Stanley Cup final was on pay-per-view around the country. Even when the Rangers won in '94, there was national coverage. There was national coverage, but the games were on MSG. Unheard of now. That's how much the sport has grown over the last 30 years. But it's just skating, the availability of ice, how much we're exposed to it. We're so much less than the other sports. So that's I think why it lags behind. But because of three teams that have played well, you see more kids playing more and more kids playing video games. Certainly, help the exposure of hockey, people to hockey. That you're starting to see that it's growing at a much different level. It's such a disadvantage. Look at all the disadvantages. Not a great television sport, not a great television sport, right? It's difficult to follow the puck. It's got the following that it has. How incredible the sport is. How incredible the sport is once people are exposed to it.
Absolutely, there's a lot of loyal fans. Like when you're a hockey fan, it's like you be a casual baseball fan, casual baseball fan, casual football fan. Hockey fans are to say the least.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because you've got to work to get the information. You can't turn on ESPN without being inundated with basketball information. Baseball's ingrained into every sports fan's psyche. But hockey, you really got to look for. It's not in your face like it is the other sports. I don't know if you guys are music fans, but I kind of compare hockey to heavy metal. Like heavy metal fans are very loyal. It's not on terrestrial radio. It's not on commercial radio. It's not on commercial radio. You got to hunt for the music. And so people are diehard because they work harder to hear and be exposed to that. Hockey's the same way. Hockey's the same way. You just don't turn on the TV. You just don't turn on the radio and just turn on the radio and inundated with that information. Inundated with that information. People that hunt for it, people that hunt for it, really appreciate it.
I'm curious from a local perspective. Because I do feel like New York is one of the better in the United States in terms of how passionate and how many fans there are. But especially there are like this where Rangers, Islanders all make the playoffs. Are we closer to seeing maybe taking fans? Because I think you heard last year on your show, being like, I'm not a hockey fan, I'm tuned into this Rangers playoff. How close are we to seeing those people tune in for more than just
very close. I mean, a lot of that very close. I mean, a lot of that of the Rangers. The Rangers are the team that really moves the Islanders. No offense to the Islanders, Devils, but the fan base, hockey fans, the majority are Rangers. It's been a while. This team hasn't won a while. 94. That's going on 90 years. Now they've been good. Now they've been good. They've had consistently good. They've had some stars. But you're seeing there was actually more. The viewership was better. The viewership was better for the Rangers than the Knicks. The Rangers actually have some stars. I mean, Panarin, Subbanich, you had Kreider, Igor Shesterkin, captivated a lot of the fans. But you need to be able to have that. You need to be able to have that team be good. You look at the Yankees, how they're in the playoffs, how they're in the playoffs every year for a championship. The Rangers can get to that level. The Rangers can get to that level. I saw it. I mean, I saw how came together. How people went to the parade, and then unfortunately right after that they had a lockout. The Rangers didn't make the playoffs for a long period of time. They came back after the lockout. So if they can sustain that and ever win a championship, then I think more people will be exposed to it. It'll never be the other three sports are. But that could be where you really see a lot of fans begin to gravitate if the Rangers can ever finally win the Stanley Cup.
Let's dive into this Devils series. A few days ago, the way I was going to talk about it, Rangers go up 2-0. The Rangers go up 2-0. 2 games. They dropped 2 straight at MSG. I was trying to come in not overconfident, not overconfident. The other side of that and come back. The way they dominated on the road, to drop those 2 games. Did that shock you? What did that shock you? What happened that was so drastic?
Surprise is probably the better word more than shock. Because hockey is just a very difficult sport. People were asking me after those first 2 games, can there even be a game 6? Can there even be a game 6? Probably not likely was the score, and 2 was the Rangers doing whatever they want on the power play. Overwhelmed, inexperienced. But putting Schmidt in changed the dynamic a little bit. Scott Gomez said, talking about lock on the radio voice, said they had Scott Gomez on. They had Scott Gomez on. Gomer said, what's interesting about changing the goaltender, it just changes the complexion. When you're getting killed, when you're getting killed, you just need to change. You need to walk in that locker room. You need to walk in that locker room. Something significant is different. And they've played well in front of them. And they've played well in front of them. I've seen it before. Where I'll call games where the backup goaltender is in. The team seems to play better in front of the backup than the starting goaltender. It just crystallized, I think, what the Devils needed to do. And they've done a great job on the penalty. That's been the big difference. That's been the big difference. When you look at the first 2 games, if you took all those power play goals away that the Rangers scored, the 4 goals from Kreider, the Rangers still would have won, but it wouldn't have been as dominating. Well, now what happened? Rangers go 0 for 8 on the power play. The games are close. The games are 1-goal games into the third, and obviously game 3 in overtime. Obviously game 3 in overtime. And they really isn't that big of a difference, except for the fact that they haven't been able to convert on the power play. They haven't played as well 5-on-5, and I did think they were a little sloppy. They didn't complete a lot of passes. They just look like they lost a little confidence. And the Devils have gained confidence with these wins. And now you got a series. The good news is the Devils have been really good on the road. Not the team that lost 8 straight games at home during the course of the regular season. So maybe the fact that maybe the fact that the home Rangers can actually work to their advantage, but still to their advantage. Not a lot of room for error. Not a lot of room for error. It's the best of 3 series now. It could slip away if they're not careful. It could slip away if they're not careful.
Yeah, what's been funny the last couple days, everyone always says like a series doesn't start until you lose at home. Right now, a series isn't starting until you lose. That's kind of the narrative. That's kind of the narrative. Really funny that the series has gone this way with obviously winning on away all the way across the river. But you mentioned last night, kind of altogether for the Rangers. Lou and I were watching that one. Lou and I were making our own comments at home for sure. But called out the team in the post game. The offense for their lack of effort. You didn't really see that hunger and that drive that he wanted for them, particularly in that game. Does this team at this point kind of get of the doubt? And do you think that when they go back to Jersey, they'll be able to flip that switch? Or do you think the momentum is kind of shifting in the Devils' favor?
There's no momentum is shifting. The momentum. The question now is how do you get? The question now is what's going to be the turning? What's going to be the moment? What's going to be the momentum back? Swing the momentum in the favor. In the favor of the Rangers, and I go back to the power play. Big difference. You go to game 3. Big difference. You go to game 3. Kane takes that penalty. 22 seconds, and the Devils don't score. That was the narrative. That was the narrative. Devils not scoring. And then 5 minutes later, McLeod Rangers go on the power play. Rangers go on the power play. I remember talking next to John Giannone from Rangers score here. This series. Rangers score here. This series because the narrative continues. Because the narrative scoring on the power play, scoring on the power play. Devils missing their opportunity. And then you fast forward. They end up going 0 for 5 on the power play. 0 for 5 on the power play. And it just changed the complexion of the game. So maybe it'll take a power play. Maybe it'll take a power play. Maybe it'll take a huge save by Igor. I don't think either goaltender has been overly tested. Overly tested. Good. Smith's been good. Smith's been good. Nobody's standing on their head. Nobody's standing on their head by any stretch of the imagination. By any something to kind of change. Just something to kind of change. And hopefully the Rangers can get that. Hopefully the Rangers can get that. They've been in this situation before. Obviously in a negative way. Obviously in a negative way against Tampa, where they had their series there in game 3 and let it get away. Let it get away. Similar now. Eerily similar now that the series is even 2 games apiece. So maybe they can draw from that. So maybe they can draw from that experience. But they just need something positive. They just need something positive and gain the momentum. We had Henrik Lundqvist. Before the series started. And the big theme was how much more experienced the Rangers were. I think the Devils had 399 games postseason lineup for game 1, and 138 of those games. So from Andre, a lot of guys that didn't have any experience. And Hank said, the big thing is that when you're experienced, there's a lot of momentum changes, and momentum changes, and it's not to get too caught up in that. Not to get too caught up in that. Both positive and negative. So we'll see if the Devils get a little too high on themselves. Like maybe the Rangers did after their first 2 wins. How the Devils now will handle control of the series. They were the favorites coming in. They didn't handle that well. To start the series. How will they handle game 5? Now there's an expectation that they're back in control. Will they be experienced enough to handle that responsibility? And the Rangers get back on track with a win on Thursday.
Coming into this series, one of the things I think I was really terrified about looking at beyond their speed was beyond their speed. They're young, they're hungry. They're hungry, and it seems like they like to play against the Rangers. Like it took a little bit for them to get there, but I think finally all had a game 4 the way that they played. When you look back at those first 2 games, the way the Rangers kept them in neutral zone, was that the Rangers playing a perfect game? The Rangers playing a perfect game, or the Devils didn't wake up until these.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Because I did think the Rangers played the perfect game, and the Devils played the perfect game 4. But games 3 and 4, but you do have to take the loser has to take some responsibility for that. So it's probably just the Devils never experienced anything like that. But look at the Rangers last year. Remember, they fell behind this team. They fell behind Pittsburgh, and then Sidney Crosby gets hurt, and then they're able. The series goes on, and they were able to come in and win it. That's kind of happened with the Devils here, right? They seemed overwhelmed in the first 2 games, and now they've got all those guys that never played in a postseason game before, like Jack Hughes. Well, he's played now in 4, and he's got 3 goals, and now he feels like, all right, maybe I know how to do this now. Heishier had the 5 games back in 2018, but now he's got 9, and he's got more recent experience than when he was a kid his rookie year in 2018. So all that kind of builds towards where we're at now. But the Rangers can get back to it. They just need to find their game. But give the Devils credit. They certainly found theirs. Let's not forget, they were the better team in the regular season. They won 3 of the 4 games in the regular season. So we shouldn't be overly surprised that we're even at 2 games apiece. Just a little bewildered on how we got here with nobody winning a home game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what is more shocking than anything else. Because, like you said, Devils did take 3 of the 4 in the regular season, all that. But yeah, interesting seeing now tied at 2 apiece as we head into these last 3 games. But I think something you mentioned there is the Devils, their top line has been spectacular. And they've been receiving contributions from not only that line, but from their full depth. But you mentioned, Heischer, Hughes, Palat, you have Bratt, you have all of those people who are kind of in the Devils' top quota there. And I mean, something that I at least felt has been missing from the Rangers is some of their top players, I feel, haven't been as apparent on the score sheet or just showing up as I would like to see. Specifically, we talk about Mika and Panarin. I feel like I'm used to seeing them come out full force. But right now, for me, the difference makers are, the kid line and then obviously Chris Kreider on the power play. So I guess, do you think that Rangers top line is something that's missing right now, that maybe once they start firing, it'll get a little bit more even and head into this next game?
Well, that was always the question with Panarin last year, even in that Pittsburgh series. He finally won the series, but that was on a power play goal. Like, can they play better 5-on-5? And as skilled as they are, they don't generate, I think, as much as they should 5-on-5 the way they do on the power play, or even shorthanded like last year, all those shorthanded goals that Kreider had. Yeah, Panarin's got to hit the net. Zibanejad's got to be better. And I think they will be. They're just too talented to be completely, blanked here. But you're starting to run out of time too. There's only, potentially 3 more games, so you got to get their act together too. Interesting what Gallant will do for Thursday, because he moved Trocheck on the top line, dropping Zibanejad to play with Tarasenko and Panarin. So will that be the combinations he goes with in Game 5? Trocheck did score the goal, so it did seem to work there. Or will he go back to the other lines? Gallant's done that all year of shifting lines around, but good observation by you. The kid line was terrific in the playoffs last year. They've been good so far in this series, but they just got to get into a bit of a groove 5-on-5. Kreider's got 5 goals, but 4 of them have come on the power play. Nothing from Zibanejad, nothing from Panarin. That was Trocheck's first goal of the series. Tarasenko had the great goals in the first 2 games of the series, but nothing since. So they've got to get their thing going. Devils deserve a lot of credit for clamping down and not giving them a lot of room to do it, but they've got to find a way. Your best players have to be your best players, and this team is not going to go anywhere without Panarin and Zibanejad being at the level that they were for the majority of the regular season. These are 2 90-point scorers. You got to do more than what they've done in the first 4 games.
Absolutely. I know that Lou and I both have our picks for who we think is taking Lord Stanley this year. We've discussed it all year. We made our picks at the very beginning of the season, and then obviously now that we're here. But at this point, who do you think is taking Lord Stanley home? And is that different than who you thought it would be when the season began?
I thought it was going to be the season began. I don't even remember. I'd have to go back and check. I'm sure Anthony probably has it written down somewhere from the Game Misconduct podcast. I probably because I felt like I remember I had Carolina coming out of the East. I'm trying to remember who I had coming out of the West. But obviously it's not. I don't feel great about Carolina. They're really beat up. And then at the start of the playoffs, I've had Boston versus Edmonton in the Stanley Cup final. To me, the one team that looks better than everybody else is considering the injury with Bergeron and Ullmark wasn't 100%. The flu that they had going on at the beginning of the series. Boston still looks great, right? They're up 3-1. They were tested in Game 2, but they bounced back nicely. I thought Florida missed an opportunity at home with Bergeron out to be able to make that more of a series. They just can't. Boston's just much better. I mean, it's really difficult for me to believe that Boston can be beat. I know the President's Trophy winners usually don't win the Stanley Cup and they get upset at some point, but if something hits different with this team, record in wins, record in points, they're just so deep, and little salary cap circumvention, certainly with being able to acquire Bertuzzi, knowing that Hall was going to come back and be healthy for them, kind of like what Tampa did with Kucherov last year. But yeah, Boston, I'm going to still stick with Boston and Edmonton, although you don't win a lot of Stanley Cups giving up that many goals the way the Oilers have. But I'm still going to stick to my guns with my finals pick. What about you guys?
I think at the beginning of the season, I had the Hurricane, and then it was tough it's tough for me. I am a Rangers fan, so I think in our little bracket, I think I'm going Rangers. I think I'm still there. I think they can still do it. I think they're one of the few teams I think that can knock off Boston in the East, but I wouldn't say I'm confident. But
we actually have the same finals picks. I had Edmonton versus Boston, but I had Edmonton winning in 6.
Okay.
That's my pick.
I do have Edmonton going to the Cup.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had that because I think Edmonton really impressed a lot of people. And it's also time when you look at Connor McDavid, I think he's an amazing player. Was only the 6th player ever to score 150 points in a season. But I'm not sure if he's been exposed to the rest of the sports world the way he should. And you need to win, right? You need to be able to make a run. They went to the conference final last year. That was nice, but they got swept. It was really not a non-competitive series. If they can get to the Stanley Cup final and win, that would really put Connor McDavid where he belongs among the great athletes we have in North American sports. So maybe there's a little rooting interest for me there, but I just felt like Skinner was better than any goaltending they've had in a long time. And they really became more than just Draisaitl and McDavid. There were other guys that were playing well for them, and Kane coming back and being healthy where it was among them. But again, we're sitting here really. I don't think the Jets can do it, being down the way they are. But like every other series, how can you say can Minnesota make a run? Why not? Right? That's why these playoffs are so incredible, that it's just so wide open. And just when you think you got it figured out, something crazy happens. So it's also pretty cool. We're not seeing any sweeps. It's not going to be till tonight where we actually may see some teams eliminated. But here we are almost a couple of weeks into the playoffs, and yet still nobody has been officially eliminated from playoff contention. Just shows you how tight things are.
Once again, I want to thank Don McGrath for taking the time out of his very busy day to talk some.
This is it. This was fun. It went by quick.
It's a good time. We got to keep it a little snappy. But hey, you can hear him on Game Misconduct, wherever podcasts are found. You can hear him on the Michael K Show from 3 to 7 on Yes and 98.7 FM, and you can hear him on ESPN Radio calling Ranger games. So Don, really appreciate it, man.
This was a lot of fun. Thanks, man. Anytime.
We'll be right back with more one-on-one.
Hey everyone, Michael Calamari here, one of the beat reporters for this season's New York Knicks basketball team. Follow us all season on WFUV Sports, on our Twitter for game and player updates, and on our YouTube channel for a post-game recap following every home game. Also, keep an eye out for special reports on WFUVsports.org throughout the year. For all things New York Knicks basketball, follow WFUV Sports all season long.
All right, welcome back to One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. Thomas Aiello, Chris Carrino Jr., Caleb Stein. It is time for Mixed Bag. Seems like every time I do a show, this is always a segment at the end. Now, this is questions that we do not know what is on there. Producer Julia put them together. I also have Google open in case I have to Google some things. So we're ready to roll.
The first mixed bag of the Moss era, I might add.
This is true. Well, we're still technically in the Greg Ware era, but
yeah.
yes, I know what you mean.
As it's commencing.
Yes. So also, I just wanted to take a look at this awesome hat that was provided to us by Chris. It's the 2009 Yankees championship hat.
It was.
It is a very, very good-looking hat. So first question.
Appreciate that.
And then I will also pass the hat to Caleb. You can read the next one. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. Best NFL uniforms.
Like this one. I need to look at the NFL right now, so I don't forget a team.
I feel like the Seahawks are gonna be.
No, I don't. I wouldn't. They're outdated.
Wow, really?
Yeah, we haven't had New Jersey in a decade.
Yeah, I'm not a big neon guy.
Yeah, it's outdated.
No.
Neon was so 10 years ago.
Okay.
I weirdly think the Buccaneers have some of the nice ones, just as a whole. Like those 3 jerseys are all nice.
Yeah.
Chargers are fire.
Chargers have a good.
Yeah.
Patriots. We have our Titans back
Julius
there.
says Titans.
I agree. It'd be nice if they won playoff games though.
This is also true, and the quarterback. Would be nice.
But also I feel like underratedly, the Steeler jerseys have been like the best jerseys in the NFL forever. Like literally, like just only on
it's
the reason,
iconic.
Only on the reason that they use like the Steeler logo is based off the Iron logo, and the Iron logo that's put on things is only put on it once. That's why it's only on the helmet once. Like that. When I heard that for the first time, and my dad told me that when he was telling me a story about this Terry Bradshaw fit he had going on in his youth, that kind of blew my mind. I thought that was like one of the coolest details in any NFL uniform ever. It's so cool. But yeah.
Steelers is a good shout. The
Steelers,
class, the history, it's all
The
there.
Rudy family.
And when they wear the fat numbers where it's a throwback jersey, oh man.
Fire.
Those are awesome.
Oh, man.
Those are awesome. All right, Caleb.
Question number 2 here. Favorite WFUV memory, parentheses for Thomas, parentheses.
Is there like a certain only one answer I can give? Oh, it's my last show. Oh, okay.
Just trying to make you cry, Thomas.
I know. See,
He's getting allergic, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think it was my first men's game that I did this year.
Yeah?
It was
Against
the UNH, University of New Hampshire at home. The first game I did play-by-play. It was so much fun.
What'd you wear? You look good?
I have a picture.
Yeah.
I do have a picture.
Oh, he has a picture.
He has a picture.
He has a picture.
Oh, I have everything on this.
I need to know if you look sharp or not.
I looked crispy.
Let's rate the fit after.
Yeah, I gotta
look how you play, Thomas.
Yes, I agree. I need to find
good,
it.
feel good. Yeah.
All right, here it is. So it's a black blazer, maroon shirt, and a blue tie.
I like it.
It came out good.
I like it.
If you guys can see, it came out good.
Yeah, we can get that in the camera.
I clearly did not take this, but that was, I think, that and calling the semifinal game versus Dayton, I think, are both up there because that was the first time that happened in 15 or so years.
Safe to say, if we win that game, it's your number one.
Oh, 100%. And you can go on about if they would have won the championship game, but I think those two are up there. Just because it was so much fun to do that, and it's something I've been a part of for a long time. So I think those are my favorite WFUV moments, as my 4 years.
What's your favorite sport? But
you're kidding, right?
Yes,
it's hockey.
Yes, yeah, I think it's hockey. All right, I'm gonna go. Ready? My first.
Chris is first. Look at this. My last is first.
Yeah, my
Look
first
at this.
stab at this. Okay.
A lot of firsts today.
Biggest draft bust in any sports history. And I have the answer.
Anthony Bennett.
I have the answer because I was there, and the answer is Anthony Bennett.
Whoa!
I was there. That guy got picked number 1 overall, never made one single positive play maybe in the NBA in a meaningful minute of any game ever.
Yeah,
like
Anthony Bennett.
As bust get, I was there, so it makes it even better. On top, the cherry on top of just a disgusting draft that the best player was Victor Oladipo, which, NBA All-Star.
No, Giannis.
Oh, see, that's
yeah.
where there's a few years like that where Jokic is picked like in the 20s, a couple years after that.
Pick,
you don't think of him as the best player in that draft, but he
No.
is. Giannis was the best player in that draft. I do stand mistaken, but
Yeah.
at the time, with not 6 years of hindsight, it was a terrible draft.
Caleb.
Good pick.
Anthony Bennett. The greatest Bill Simmons moment ever. Whoa!
I was right in front of him when I saw that moment happen in front of him.
Really?
Everyone's like, who the heck
Bill
is
Simmons
this
was talking
guy?
about Anthony Bennett, but that was the only reason I even knew who he was, because I
Right.
saw him do a segment on it like 30 minutes before the draft started about how this guy could be a lottery pick, and then they didn't call his
I think
name.
everyone got trolled by him because he went to UNLV and everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's Larry Johnson 2.0."
grandmama kind of
and
vibe.
it's just,
yeah.
it wasn't not even close.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway,
Gary Payton ripping him on Fox was, it was
good times.
good times.
Bad times in the NBA.
Two
though.
questions left. Favorite chip brand? Okay.
Ooh, I gotta go.
Yeah, you go first.
I don't know if they have these in New York. Miss Vicky's?
Yes, they have those.
Yeah.
They're really good. They were
Fire.
That's a common. Yeah, that's a good one.
Miss
Fire.
Vicky's is good.
Yeah.
Where are they based out of? Down south?
I would with the name. I feel like with a name like Miss Vicky's, like that sounds southern.
I'm gonna look this up. Wait,
yeah,
hang on.
Miss Vicky's HQ.
Where do these come from? Our story. Here we go. We're on the website.
While they're
Michigan.
researching, I'll give you guys mine.
Really?
It says that's what it says the
Michigan.
HQ is. The HQ's in Redford, Michigan.
Michigan. Okay.
Okay. Oh, I have to watch a video to watch their story. Okay.
Anyway,
well, I'm not doing that.
I'm a Red Dorito guy. Very casual. Just I don't mess with the classics.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yours?
See, I'm trying to get off the chips because I'm trying to eat better.
Yeah.
Chips. I mean, you can't go wrong with the classic Lay's. Big fan of the purple Doritos.
Mm-hmm.
Overrated.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Doritos in general, I just think overrated.
The purples?
Yeah.
Overrated, but the red's so good. You don't agree?
Oh, red is like the gold standard.
Red's class, but Doritos.
You said they're all bad.
Well, no, I said they're all overrated.
All overrated. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doritos
the red is
class. Doritos blue. I don't think it's good.
We need Doritos nacho or not nacho. We need a Doritos sour and cream flavor.
If it's not sunflower seeds, I don't want anything with the flavor of ranch.
Wait, hold on. Producer Julia does not agree with a sour cream and onion flavor Dorito. Why?
That'd be fire.
It would be the green bag. We get the green bag. No?
You have to relay.
Oh, she doesn't like
people.
it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's okay. I mean, yeah, I guess the classic Lay's is my go-to.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with
Can't
it.
go wrong.
It's never go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
It's elementary on paper. But
Oh,
when
and
you really
and
eat
Ruffles,
it, it's not.
and Ruffles. Ruffles are really
too.
good.
You like the ridges?
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
It's a real shame we only have pretty much 4 minutes left for me to ask this question, especially to Thomas here. Predict the records of both Fordham men's and women's basketball teams next season.
Oh my God. Okay.
We can just end the show here.
Yeah, we're gonna end the show here.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like
Chris and I
to.
are signing out.
Yeah,
I would like
yeah.
to begin this college basketball mini segment to declare the Arkansas
Mini segment.
the Arkansas Razorbacks have won the transfer portal. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Okay. Records. With the women's team, I'm gonna go. 18 game, A10 schedule. I'm gonna go 16-16. I'm gonna just put them at 500.
Okay.
And for the men, I'm gonna go 21-10.
What's the record in conference?
Good question.
21-10. What are they? 11-5 this year, and 12-4 in conference. They were, I believe.
Say 12-4.
Yeah, I think that sounds. Hold on, I have Google open. I'm gonna
make sure to keep an eye on the clock as well.
12-6 conference.
We're
12
winding
and
down
6?
here at the buzzer.
All right, so I'll go. I feel like they could go 12-6 again in the conference. That seems reasonable.
Before we get off here, just one more question to you. What do you think the comparison will be for this year's team and next year's team? You think the team will be better, worse? Like, how do you think next year's team will stack up to this team?
Yeah, okay. So my thing is, obviously we have the news about them playing St. John's.
Right.
Massive.
Yeah, that is actually really big news.
Massive.
I also think I'm a Fordham basketball NPC because
Fanatic.
in my debrief for the Fordham Ram, I said that they would play St. John's because Patino will play anybody, and they announced that they're going to play them. So that came out a month before. But I think with this team, they need to obviously the schedule is like the biggest complaint. Obviously, as much as it was nice to go 12-1 in that, they need to play better teams.
Of course,
you're going to lose Quisenberry, Khalid Moore. You probably lose Rostik Nowitzki, and those are like pretty big pieces, but they've got good transfers, so they'll regress. But it's not going to be like they go below 500. Like I don't think that's gonna. I don't think that's gonna happen. Like Urgo's a good coach. They still have a lot of the talent coming back, so I don't think they're gonna, fall back to earth like that. They'll come down a little bit, but 21. I think 20 wins. They can do it again.
Yeah,
they can very much do it again.
I think they're gonna go from Mars to Mercury. 25 win season this past year. I like 22-11.
22-11. Yeah, that seems. I think that early 20s number is a very fair expectation,
especially with time for guys like Gray and Richardson to continue to grow with how young they are.
Yeah, and you also add Jafet Medor coming in from UTSA, grad transfer, and this kid Josh Rivera, who's really good, really athletic, from what I have seen. And Jameer Tripp is coming in as a freshman. So all the pieces are in Fordham's hands. The conference is kind of collapsing on itself at the moment with everyone leaving, and the transfers coming in they're not, I don't think some of them are A10 level talent. but that's okay. But that's about going to do it for our show here today. It's been fun. Hit a lot of stuff today. Our producer, Julia Moss, the sports director of WFUV, Bobby Chaffardini, Andrew Canary, our video producer today. For Caleb Stein, Chris Carrino Jr., we're saying thank you to Don LaGreca, Bud Michigan, and Chris Carrino Sr. for calling in. I'm Thomas Aiello saying so long from our Rose Hill studios. Thank you for listening to One on One. And if you missed any of the show, please check us out on our YouTube page at WFUV Sports. And One on One is a production of WFUV Sports.